Welcome back, everybody. Episode 7 of our Age of Ashes epilogue here. And after an incredibly explosive opening, things have, well, cooled off a little, but there's still a lot going on and a lot to do ahead of us. I don't think that we have ever opened a session inside of a dragon's horde, much less what might be one of the greatest hordes on the face of Golarion, for perhaps one of the eldest dragons in reality, Menkare, Lord of the Isle of Hermea, and the ruler of Promise.
My books now.
We're going to start off today's show after the battle for Breach Hill, after making our way through Vengegate, after getting gratuitously stabbed.
While naked, no less.
While very gratuitously naked. Here, in relative quiet. In the back of the Gold Dragon Menkare's horde, and this massive cave network in northwest Hermea, there is a library. An impressive personal library of Menkare's own. You all have had an interesting introduction here on the island, and recently departed was head councilwoman Emeliza Treagle, the leader of the Council of Enlightenment of the City of Promise. And as she leaves, the 5 of you here back in Menkare's library, why don't we go around the table, and this is something that I'll remember to do more than every other session eventually. And it's a new thing. I gotta get used to it again. Briefly introduce each of our characters. And we'll go around the table. I think we keep starting over here. So why don't we start on this side with the character introductions. Give us who you are at and separate from the table, and like a brief what we see as we come into this library here.
What you're doing, who I am separate from the table?
I said both at and separate from the table. Who you as a person are, and then who you're playing as a person.
Gotcha.
Are.
All right. I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
I've
Shelley.
worded that as poorly as physically possible. We got there.
So my name's Shelley. I am playing Valentina Corvala, who is a monk of average height,
We moved away from
but not average build. I got arms for like just
What
huge arms.
What is average height in Pathfinder, though? Really?
I mean, I just
5'4"
looked
for a
up.
girl.
I like literally looked up what is the average height of a human female, and that's what I used for my character sheet.
Average, by the way. That's the
I
height.
am a
Intentionally as
data,
average as possible.
Yes,
Which is what, like 5'4"?
4.
something
For a girl,
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough.
She's 5'4", and with what is your strength, like 20? You are way more jacked than I even thought.
Built like a refrigerator.
Seriously.
Stews.
So I have like short red hair, and I have a background in monk skills and fighting, and lots of strange one-liners or people don't actually know the context of, and I'm amazing at basically parkour and punching things.
And yeah, we've proven both of those for sure so far. I can confirm both.
Well, hey there. First, I'm Bobby, and I'm playing Kaladar, who is he's a guy from in the northern colds, eh? And so I got my tea because I'm also cold, because I'm personally from the warm south and outside, and yeah,
70 degrees.
yeah, that's cold. 70 degrees. I live in Florida. There's a 7 in that number. It's cold.
Hoodie weather.
The temperature outside has been starting with a 6, and I'm scared.
Yeah, I woke up today and it was 48 degrees. I was like, no,
You're
I'm
from
gonna stay in bed
Idaho.
for a while.
I know. I was being somewhat sarcastic.
Anyway, moving on. Kaladar is a elfish-looking fella, and he's real fast, and he punches lots of things real fast, and he's from a place called the Boneyard, eh?
A lot of people go there. Not a lot of them.
Oh yeah, we don't come. We don't. Not
necessarily.
all of us come back. Physical descriptions is he's got some elfy ears there, and he's got a mohawk and the most beautiful mustache you ever seen, eh?
All the important.
That's it. All the headpieces. That's it.
Before we move on to our next seat here, alt tabs in from work, bonk resume, alt-tab back to work. Bane from Link 14.
I love that, man. So I realized this. You got Shelly, Bobby, Colby. All our names rhyme.
Hey.
I'm Colby, by the way. I'm playing Raz, the little rat man with the trumpet. He's a smart little lad. He's about 3 foot tall, and he looks like a desert rat, and he has a nice big bard hat. That's how you know he's a bard, because of the hat.
Oh, it is the indicative barding hat. Unbonk resume, put a bless over there for fellowship of the tables. We're doing this again, so get ready.
Why do you think I have them out right here?
Keep going.
Well, I'm going to wreck the rhyming scheme. I'm Nick. Sorry, Shelly, Bobby, and Colby.
Oh, your name could be Nikki, eh?
Yeah, it could be, but then I'd have to throw dice at you.
While you're on that table.
Our dice are way too heavy. For that. We'll talk about that
Throw these
later.
dice at people, please.
Oh, yeah.
very
Norse
heavy.
Foundry dice.
They're called boulders for a reason.
You can punch holes in drywall with these things.
Easily.
Yep. But I'm going to be playing Roshin today, much like most of these things actually. But I like Roshin. That's okay. Roshin's life isn't very good. Constantly warring between cosmic forces, trying to rip her body apart. But it actually winds up working out quite well for her because she could probably arm wrestle Valentina for at least a little bit before she ran out of breath. And she has the cursed powers of what I was blaming Milani for, but is apparently someone named Omarath, who's some eldritch curiosity. But it's all right. We made up. I like him. I'm going to help him escape from the prison between dimensions, but sure, it'll work out just fine for everyone.
It's okay, Roshin. Everyone has odd parents. Hi, I'm Resme. I don't have odd parents. My parents are totally normal. I'm an elf, mostly. My dad's kind of human, but we're not going to talk about that. Because she looks like an elf, and that's all that matters. My real name is Jen, and I'm married to this reprobate.
In real life, not in game.
Yet.
Yeah.
I hate it here.
I have.
What happens in promise stays in promise.
I hate you.
I was not expecting Promises the Vegas of Galarian canon today, but here we are.
Head cannon approved. Boop.
Stamp that one, send it off. Ship it to Paizo, have them put it in the next world guide.
Going.
Aren't we like basically pulling an Ocean's 11 here?
It's Vegas.
That's not wrong. I
Yeah.
have no grounds on which to argue with that. While you all sit within this library here, you had been given a mission indeed by Emiliza. But before we get into the details of that and what you are doing now, I want to quickly thank our sponsors, as always, for the show, and a little bit of extra gravy on this list. First of all, we got Arkenforge. If you're seeing the image of all of the player character art right now, Arkenforge hosts all of that in a way that makes it very easy for us to both show it to you, but also show it to the players over here. No matter what orientation they are on the table, no one has to look at the upside down art anymore because they rolled to be on the wrong side of the monitor. So we've overcome that difficulty that we had for many, many years, and that's probably nice. We appreciate your sacrifice, terminally upside down friends. For
an honor, sir.
For all that you suffered.
Did you roll
through.
for that every session? Because that would be great.
No.
All right, you guys had to flip
Oh,
coins.
God,
and
It
Omar.
happened
just
once,
turn
and
the
then that's
table.
just where I was. I was just happy. Every campaign, that's just how it happened.
But they are a hybrid virtual tabletop and map making software that we have put a discount code with that will set you up with a huge amount of either their fantasy or their sci-fi assets at a discount. And using that code helps support them, helps support us directly. Easiest way that you can get some cool stuff for yourself and also help out our network. Sirenscape for most of the music and all of the soundboards that you hear during our shows. Their immersive sound sets have added way more to this than I ever could have anticipated. All of our fantastic Eldritch Foundry minis, which we now have the full cast of, all painted up, ready to go. Fantastically done by Nick over here with his magical artistic hands. And last but very much not least is Norse Foundry. Definitely our oldest partner. They have been with us for what feels like forever with their fancy metal dice that you should really not throw at each other because they are very chunky and they
Assault
feel
with a deadly weapon.
they
Toe busters.
absolutely the bad things will happen if you pitch these dice at your friends, but they are
A war crime. This is a war crime.
Well, that wasn't what I was going to go
War
for.
crime waiting to happen.
That is a D4, good sir.
many things in how you use it. They got a whole bunch of fine metal, gemstone, and other dice like bone and glass. And right now, we are running a raffle for a giveaway of a pair of Norse Foundry gift certificates that anyone can win. The information you can most easily find over at our Twitter, twitter.com/UGT show, which has the information about how to enter. There are a ton of different ways to enter. Simplest is just following both us and Norse Foundry on social media. All of the instructions are there on that profile, pinned right at the top of our Twitter. But for those of you that are here right now, those of you that are hanging out watching this current show, we've got an additional little bonus for you. If you do go check that out and you use the code UGTAOA40, that will give you 40 raffle tickets into the drawing for that pair of gift certificates. That's just a thank you for those of you that are hanging out, watching the content, engaging with the shows. And we're going to have codes. We had a code to give away here. We have another code if you go back and check out the VOD either here on this channel or on our YouTube, youtube.com/UGT VODs of the Not Dead Yet show that aired Tuesday. They have another different code also worth 40 entries into that giveaway. So that's a lot of entries. And yes, the Norse Foundry product is, as long as you don't throw it at each other, they're fantastic. We very derailed there into the usage of the dice as weapons.
I mean, if you want to use it as a freaking sling bullet, then
you could probably take Goliath down one of those, I'm pretty sure.
It's viable for that, for sure.
Follow the UGT code. Follow the UGT code. Follow the folks.
What is happening?
There's a link in the chat for you right there that goes directly to the tweet with the Gleam giveaway and all the information. A whole bunch of ways to enter with whatever social media accounts you may or may not have. UGT AOA 40. Big bucket of tickets.
Is that all lowercase?
I don't think it's case sensitive.
Okay.
I have it as all uppercase, but I don't think it's case sensitive. Put it all uppercase, I guess, to be safe. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter.
Chat will figure it out.
But that's good to bring up, because in case I'm wrong. But I don't think it matters. Anyway, as we come back in today, as I said, you have been left in this cavernous library. The ceiling a few dozen feet overhead, and even the narrower passages, two of which lead away from this bend, are, again, a couple dozen feet wide. The floors of the cavern have been worked very smooth, kind of inlaid, not tiled over, but inlaid and engraved to resemble interlocked squared tiles, with small little emblems of what appears to be a draconic visage in between each of their intersections. Very much simplified, much more stylistic. Of course, it is floor tiling, but the whole of this cave, even the walls and the ceiling itself appear to be much more natural. All of it lined with these sconces outputting this bright golden light, illuminating the whole of the cavern as if it were daytime, no matter how deep within you go. And as we begin.
Are we picking up basically directly after she's
walked away? Literally, she has just walked away, and she's like
gave us our mission. Said like go to the beggars district and like peace out. I'm gonna go.
She is out of earshot at this point. You could still see her in the distance, headed toward the stairs, well over 100 feet away. The last thing she had told you was that she was going to head back in. She needed to head back into Promise to make preparations for the graduation day ceremony, and it would be wise for the group of you to perhaps wait a small amount of time. Then head into the city yourselves, seek the beggar's quarter, make sure you keep your visitor's pins visible and presentable, and find yourselves lodging in a guide.
Well, just because I want to use the feat one more time, I'm going to walk over, look at the dragon's hoard, and how many gold coins are sitting in that pile? Give me a rough estimate.
Looking at this heap, the words that you said are gold coins. There is a assortment of all varieties of coins within here, and it's not even all currency from one nation. Fortunately, it's been standardized throughout much of the inner sea region, so like they're all actual precious metals and largely by weight. So a Taldan gold coin is an Osirian gold coin, is a Chelaxian gold coin in value. But it looks like there's maybe, how accurate's approximate?
So I, for numbers, my little sheet here. You could look at a case of potions. You wouldn't get an exact number, like up or down by like, let's see, pile of 2,805 coins. You would know about 3,000.
Okay. Looking at this heap here, a heap that is piled a dozen feet high and sprawling out over a nook over the cave, easily 60, 70, 80 feet wide. Looking at the kind of distribution of gold versus copper versus silver and platinum, the size of the whole heap, you figure there's probably somewhere in around 130,000 just gold coins in there.
Good news is, I'm not a greedy rat. Go back to the library.
We talk about the library's already in my bag.
Again, supermarket sweep style. You just shove it into the bag of holding. Am I too old? Did I the reference?
No, I
get it.
Good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
But
I'm like super old though, so
I'm just making sure. It's a TV show for the viewers at home from like the 80s.
on actual
Also-
broadcast television.
Yeah. Watch it on a CRT movie.
Emma also gave us a few things too, like the book that turned into instruments,
And
Correct.
this book of everything spells.
the book of everything spells, and there was the other one,
The planar.
the planar
thing,
book
right?
that I grabbed that you couldn't have.
It's a
Sorry,
smaller.
I got my own planar book. It's fine.
Apparently, the UGT AOA 40 does actually have to be all caps, so I was wrong. It does matter. It's all caps.
All right.
See,
Question
that's the
answered.
secret. You had to watch the show for more than 3 minutes to get the actual code.
Ha! Got him.
Got him. All according to plan.
Okay. So we're just gonna hang out here for a while. I think she wanted us to go into the city, eh?
Yeah,
And
but
get our little escorts and.
Well, I think she wants us to wait a bit. She has preparations to make. Almost positive she's not going to try to betray us and set us up for a fall.
Almost positive ain't positive though, there, bud.
Well,
Hey, can you really be positive about anything for 100% though?
I kind of mind locked with her there for a second. She didn't seem to have any like super big nefarious thoughts, and
mean-
we were literally in each other's head for a good 5 minutes.
I think nefarious is a matter of perspective. I don't think Treagle thought his thoughts were nefarious.
What I mean to say is I didn't get anything in the realm of, well, gee, I'd really like to stick this dagger in your back at the first opportune minute. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, I'm sure if she decides to do that, she'll come around to it over the next few days. But
Once she gets to know us, I'm sure she'll want to hurt us, but that'll be then.
As a fellow who just
Self-aware protagonist.
as a fellow who just had a dagger stuck in his back a couple of times, I can tell you it's not real fun. We shouldn't do that.
Correct.
Shouldn't give her the opportunity, eh?
well, certainly, I suppose we could go and try to catch up with her, overpower her bodyguard, defeat her, and then try to make our way by ourselves. But
No.
That does not seem like the wisest course of action here.
and that's my whole point for bringing it up. We may want to simply trust her at the moment, use our connections to get into the city, and if it turns out she tries to turn on us later, then well, we'll deal with it when we come to it. We just because we're working with her doesn't mean we have to trust her.
I have every spell ever written. You could essentially leave me in here for the next 5 years and I would be perfectly happy. An hour or two seems little enough time.
Come now, dear. We have to save the world.
What's the most annoying instrument you know?
Don't tell him.
Caladar, what's the most, Mr. Caladar, what's the most annoying instrument you know?
Harmonica.
What are you doing?
Oh, he didn't fall for it. I'm gonna go check out the map while he's going and plotting and getting as far away from him as possible.
The map that was further into the main chamber.
Correct. Yeah, the model.
As you head over towards that large table, again, about 20 feet by 30 feet, the height looks like it is very much sized to be visible to a normal human. The table isn't massive in scale. It just takes up a very large amount of area. Getting closer past, being able to see past the kind of red walls and the terrain features around the outside, it appears to be a large model of a city. Very precise and intricate diorama of a city. That looks like it has been absolutely painstakingly put together.
Is anything moving on it?
Nothing appears to be moving on it, but are you going over with her? I think
Sure.
she just kind of wandered off over
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Might as well.
So yeah, Kaladar is also bored and wants to go look at the
Is there a little
diorama.
train that runs through?
He asked me a question. I'm like, nope, that's a trap if I ever heard one.
And you know
No
traps.
traps.
It looks it does look as though it has been maintained over time. Some parts of the diorama are clearly newer than others. It looks like things have been replaced, things have been changed within the actual construction itself over time.
Is this just a plain table? Like there's nothing underneath it?
The face, no, there's nothing, there's no underneath this table. It is a stone face of a table that sits on a very stout, just wide stone column near as wide as the face of the table itself. There's no room for storage or anything underneath the actual table. And the city is sprawling. The city is sprawling, and the sense of scale is somewhat hard to grasp because the buildings around the city look like they're almost built in the model at a different scale than the walls or this massive domed golden structure in the center. If these walls were to scale, these buildings would be halfling houses. If these houses were to scale, the walls would be 100 feet high. And this structure in its center would have to be almost a half mile across. Just this huge spherical golden thing. What's immediately interesting about the model is that there are a series of what look like almost scaffolds or supports, look almost like veins, walkways of flat white plains raised up above all of the buildings of the city that spray out from this central golden citadel to the walls and to another ring. There's a ring of this white support around the citadel and another around the walls on the outside. It's somewhat difficult to tell what exactly it is meant to represent. There are clearly streets and roads amongst the buildings down below. But these weird raised white sections, all of which are perfectly linear, where they split and fork off, they do so into more perfectly straight paths. They never curve or angle. There are a couple sections where a very small bit near the edge of this connector angles down to the ground below, like the angular supports, and maybe only a 30-degree incline or so.
What a curious structure.
Kind of looks like a spider web there, bud.
It kind of does.
Well, I was actually thinking more of like, because it's not regular enough. I was thinking more of like, you ever seen mushrooms grow in sort of a spraying out over rock? It kind of reminds me of that for some reason. But no, it's like you wonder if this is actually, could they actually have such a structure to spread over the entire city? It must be massive. And what would be the point of such a thing?
That's a good question, bud. Maybe it's
There's no way this is to scale. There's no way that the city is actually like this, with these walls these high, and these strange structures going everywhere.
It was built by a dragon,
Bagpipes.
and he's from the looks at his place, a pretty big guy.
That reminds me, actually, we probably want to take that thing with us.
Are you
The
talking
table.
to Roshin's head, or did you also come over to the table?
No, in her head.
Okay.
Like, while she was over there, like,
That's how I was, 'cause I
Resme
know
had
you
a
can
thought.
hear what she's saying.
Yeah,
Just double checking.
Resme had a thought. She'll actually put her book down and she'll walk over. This would probably be something good to have with us.
As Resme is walking towards you, like 200 feet away back at the library, talking to your mind, Rez and Valentina back at this library here.
One left. I can't be annoying now.
Valentina's still here.
I am giving him just like a death glare as I can see him like
bagpipes?
thinking about.
Bagpipes. Anyways, I'm gonna walk that way too. Something interesting's happening in that direction, I guess. Resume's walking over there. It must be fun.
Yeah, we're all just gonna end up over at that table.
She has all the books anyways. What am I gonna do?
So as a resume,
I was on babysitting duty, and I'm no longer babysitting.
The two of you see the rest of your party coming over from the library.
That's Raisin's exploration activity is babysitting.
I mean, Emma gave you free reign on the library. If I stopped you at this point, it would just be being a jerk. So
You have explicit permission.
It's true. Yeah.
say fight your battles. You got to pick them. But
Actually, see over the table.
yeah, this I'll pick you up and put you on the edge.
It's great.
Perfect.
So
Wait, you're proposing we take the whole table there?
Well, yeah, we can.
Seems a bit excessive, maybe? It's like 40 feet by 30 feet, right? It's a huge table.
it's massive.
Yeah.
That's all right. I think I could shrink it down and it'll fit in my pocket.
Nope. Slap you.
But why? It'd be really helpful to have it later for planning.
him.
Well, consider as me. First off, yes, having access to the model of the map, assuming it's actually not just an artistic rendering and it's actually perhaps accurate to what the city looks like. Could be quite good, but where would you take it out of your pocket and open it up? You're thinking we're going to get a room at an inn with a large enough space to go and open this up somewhere?
I don't
Draw
know
a
why,
map.
But I have the feeling that any rooms that are available for rent in this place are going to be somewhat more sumptuous than we're normally used to at a normal
Oh yeah,
inn.
but little Bud over here's he's good at the writing and the drawing. He told me he's good at pictures.
Oh, but Taz is good at pictures.
Oh.
He's good at drawing maps. Why don't I just make a copy of the map? We still don't know if it's the scale, but having a copy of a map of a city, I can assume it's Promise.
Might
I'm
be a good
guessing.
idea.
And this might be another random city.
Certainly easier for all of us to have a copy if we happen to need something like that for our heist than one scale model. That's
To be perfectly
40
honest, I would
feet
just be
across.
following one of you around or asking for directions. But I think it could be useful just to get an idea of the lay of the land as it is.
The strange spiderwebbing structure radiating out from this golden dome at the center of the city actually makes it strangely easy to create a duplicate of a map or to sketch this out, because it very cleanly divides the city into a large amount of sections. And doubly so because the organization of the buildings below this strange network seem to largely follow the districts that will be somewhat segmented by this structure that
How
appears to
many?
be
Sorry to cut you
some
off. How
dozen
many?
feet above them.
You gave me a thought. How many sections is it divided into?
A bunch.
A bunch.
Probably like 15, 16,
16.
different sections. There's a whole bunch of interlocking pieces of this weird web. Toward the northern end of the city, the sections are much larger and actually almost wholly devoid of buildings. In fact, the northwesternmost section of the city itself, as divided by this structure, it's again higher than the roofs of what look to be models of several-story buildings. It actually looks like it is a forest. It's full of mottled trees and shrubs and is quite well overgrown. Some of the trees rising up above this structure. Next to that is a section with a massive lake dominating most of it. The two sections west of that are almost completely open fields. Further in the furthest northeast is a section that looks like it is divided into rows and strips of farmland, bearing different kinds of strange crops and growth, with several small houses and barns interspersed between them.
Inside the walls.
Inside the walls.
This isn't natural.
On the outside of the
city.
wall from this like farming section in the northeast, a dozen times more farmland sprawls out beyond to the edge of the diorama.
They realized that was a dumb idea real quick.
This feels all very manufactured to me, like somebody planned it this way.
Well, when you got hundreds of years as a dragon, I think you get plenty of time to plan things out.
Would have thought that some of his underlings would have told him it was a bad idea to try to wall in farmland, but I guess
You ever tried to tell a dragon what to do?
probably not if I was actually going to be working for him. He might fire me.
Literally.
I hate.
We're done. Go home.
Lore engineering does anything strike me about the way this city is segmented or the way it's set up?
You can go ahead and throw me a lore engineering check. What's your proficiency?
Expert.
Expert? Go ahead and roll one for me.
Do you want to roll? Do you want to do it secret or do you?
No, you can just roll it.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, that is going to be all of a 29.
29.
Two on the die.
Yeah, 29, looking at it, it's certainly strange. And there's very little. Here's actually a great picture of the diorama that we have here on this map we can pull up. It's very strange. It's very strange and almost impossible to find any kind of rhyme or reason in how it's organized. The sections that are stuffed with buildings, forming mostly kind of a central strip from east to west around this golden dome in the middle of this weird spider web. The buildings and the roads and the streets all roll together, intermixing underneath this massive overhanging structure of these white lines. But then they end perfectly abruptly at one of them to give way to a field, or perfectly abruptly to give way to this massive forest, or farther down to the southeast, perfectly abruptly to give way to what just looks like sectioned off areas of dirt and barren ground, with few buildings scattered throughout and what look like large courts or arenas spaced throughout.
Hater, but I think he was paying more attention than me because I get a little distracted. How many aspects of the one god did she say was represented by each one of these little districts here?
I think she mentioned 11.
I said 11. I was wrong. There's 12.
She mentioned 12, actually.
I was pretty sure that was wrong. I went home and Googled it immediately. I was like, dang it, it has 12 geysers. I said the wrong number. She said 12.
Because I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You
7,
count definitely
8,
more than 12. You would
9,
count 19, I believe. 18.
Nine building spots. But lots more little districts.
Right. Unfortunately, the architect of this model didn't go out of his way to actually label anything. So I'm hard to say which ones are actually guises of Arden and which ones are just, well, we needed an extra field. Or we'd ran out of places to put warehouses, so we just kind of had to call it like, I don't know, artisan number 2.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Are these pathways that are, well, assuming they're pathways, whatever these structures are above the city, do they seem wide enough that a dragon could walk on them?
Again, the scale of this model is difficult to understand, but no matter whether you judge it by the walls, the house, or the dome in the center, they must be massive. Easily at least the size of these caverns.
If these walls are to scale and these I guess causeways are also to scale, can you imagine taking them to travel across the city? You have to climb a mountain almost before you get up to the traveling level. It must be exhausting.
No.
But if you're a dragon who doesn't want to walk through a city and wants to be able to access buildings...
Can you imagine the hubris? I'm going to build my own elevated highway across the entire city just for me.
Well,
I'm
my
sorry.
goodness.
Have you met a humble dragon?
No, but I've humbled a couple in my time.
Oh.
You hear a big thunk of a book. We're talking a lot about a map. We can just go see the city itself, right? I mean, I'm thinking really hard on the map too. I know nothing about this map. I know nothing about Promise other than stories I've heard, which is a lot of stories. I want to do a bardic lore on Promise on this map to get a kind of idea what represents in the scale. I want to use my big book of everything. I'm going to go ahead and use the axe because I have it attuned to my bardic lore, so everything Raz knows is just in the book. And also, as I'm doing the recall knowledge check, another book just drops in on top of this book, opened up like a little parable of Promise. I'm going to use a use of Pocket Library for a +7 to my bardic lore.
This is like that 2 people on a keyboard scene. That's Raz reading 2 books simultaneously.
This rips the page out of the extra book and sets it side by side with the actual good book.
What's your bardic lore modifier?
My bardic lore modifier is +20, so +7, so +35.
Dang.
You would know little of structure about Promise, nothing of real substance. But what does escape and what does disseminate rarely out into the world are little bits of intrigue and little factoids. And that's exactly the kind of information that's going to be very useful to you right now. You would know that the Scarlet Walls of Promise are well over 100 feet tall. They are massive. Walls that you could fit another city inside if you so choose. You, reading through, would, with your book of all random bits of knowledge, would read about the elevated causeways of the city that allowed not just Minkare, but the people of Promise to easily traverse the city's various districts, which doesn't immediately make a ton of sense because you have to go up several stories to get to this massively elevated highway, but you find nothing rebuking the knowledge that they are invaluable. And you find that beyond the city's great landmarks, its lake, its festival grounds, and some open spaces, throughout the majority of Promise, the major segments of this web are directly correlated with the 12 guises of Erodin. The northwest, the farmer. Next to it, the hunter, the shepherd of the forest, and the
I was paying
artist south
attention
of
a little
that.
bit.
Each one winding its way down through the city, labeled after one of the 12 guises.
There you go. There it all is. Mataz, you done with that map? Just a little rat with a piece of charcoal on a piece of paper, just
It's little rat hands.
doodling.
Matez tries to pick up this piece of parchment that is much larger than him and just kind of holds up one side of it. And you have this like near perfect relief of the diorama across the front.
My goodness, he's rather good at that.
Mirror trained him. Thank you, King. Take the map from roll up and just
I'll give him a piece of cheese. I know that's what he's waiting for.
I trust you the most, Mr. Sheen.
Over to Rez.
Fascinating.
She would lose it in the bag with all the books.
Right, well,
He switches with the other one occasionally, and she doesn't have any pockets.
women's clothing, I understand.
Hey,
Into the bag of holding.
I don't have any other books in there, so it's okay. Easy.
Right. It's not as crowded.
Kaladar, have you met a rat that draws maps before? These people don't seem to be particularly surprised by it.
Oh yeah, lots. That's the whole thing with rats in the boneyard. They all draw.
really?
They're all real good. Yeah.
Oh, the boneyard sounds like such a nice place.
Yeah, they're a little. How do you say it on this side? Rotted though.
Dead.
So they smell a little bit. But they're good drawers.
That's less nice.
And they draw on my picture books. That's how I read all the time.
What?
Oh yeah, I don't know how to read real books. I just read picture books. But if you get a good enough artist, then all the pictures, they tell lots of good stories.
What is with you and Buddy? And all these people who don't know how to read. I'm going to teach you how to
Reading's boring.
read.
Oh, learning how to read takes a lot of time, and a lot of people don't have time to learn how to read. They have to tend farms and do other peasant work.
He goes and brings people across the universe.
Oh, no, that's Estes. Not me. Oh, and only once so far, just so you know.
You're so weird.
All right,
But I like
well-
you.
Well, perhaps we should travel up. We've probably deleted enough time to actually let either Miss Treagle go prepare us ahead of time or set up our ambush.
Yeah, I suppose.
What's your lore skill, Roisin?
Lore?
Yeah.
Lore in anything in particular?
Oh, what is your lore? I never has at least one. Yours is like fortune telling.
I've got
right?
fortune telling and hag lore, actually.
Okay. Who's it that had war? It was Marshall that had warfare. Like someone's got warfare. Which it would occur to that person that if she wanted to ambush you, there is literally not a better place to do it than the cave she found you in. But that's fair. That was Marshall. So disregard that. The group of you, with your sketch of this map of Certainly Promise, as well as basically the entirety of Mankari's library shoved into a pair of bags of holding, leaving just barren shelves behind, head towards the staircase that leads up out of this cavern here. Even this staircase is as wide as the caves, and it ascends very, very gradually. Each step of this is wide and large enough that you are taking several steps before you have to go up to the next staircase. And even the difference between each staircase, you're not sure if it's the whole scale of the thing or if it truly is shorter than a normal stair. You don't get a ton of vertical progression very rapidly. All in all, you would end up walking another 150, 200 feet upstairs to a massive landing, turning upstairs to a massive landing, doubling back up more stairs. Before
Takes Valentina about 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'm just at the top waiting for
gone
them.
already. Before it finally opens into a fully natural, mostly barren cavern. The mouth of the cave has an assortment of massive stalactites hanging up above, very wide and stout, not particularly long, but a couple of which have extended so far to become full natural pillars, looking like supports to this huge opening, letting it back out into the sunlight and to the green plains of the Isle of Hermea.
What time of day is it?
At this point, it would probably be like 10, 11 in the morning. because you haven't been out super long.
No.
Well, I guess we should get out there and see the parade, or go find a place to stay.
Probably register ourselves with customs, I imagine. Any city this big probably has all sorts of unnecessary processes we have to go through.
It would not be difficult to determine what direction the city is as you leave the mouth of the cave and come out in the sunlight here. The true enormity of the city of promise is immediately visible.
Those walls are ridiculous.
Like I
It
said,
would be bordering on ridiculous.
We're like 2.5 miles away. Is that
We're
what
like
you
2.5 miles
Yeah.
away, and it is easily, clearly, massively visible.
It's insane. It makes no sense.
how long do you think it took to build them?
Far too long.
The red walls of the city loom well over 100 feet high, punctuated every couple hundred feet with a massive squared bastion that doesn't look so much like a guard post as it does just an enormous stone support for the incredible weight of the structure that is the Wall of Promise. Even from here, even from miles away, that golden dome, so large it made the scale of the map difficult to determine, really is that big. It looks like it must be a half mile across, looming up over the walls of the city in its heart. The whole 10 breach hills could fit inside just that dome, much less the city all around it, inside which it looks like it might be possible you could put Kintargo and Katapesh side by side. For an isolated island settlement, this is almost inconceivably large. This must be one of the, if not the physically biggest settlements on Galarian.
Imagine being a mailman in this city. You have to deliver from this address all the way to that address.
That's what you thought of?
Or that first thought was, how much paint do they use on the walls?
Maybe it's natural for the stone. Are there any mountains on the Isle? And just, are there any mountains on the Isle? Where'd they get all that rock?
The island,
They're gone now.
There's no longer a mountain.
yeah, it's been flattened.
The red mountains were chopped down to make the walls. The white mountains were chopped down to make the North Korean highway project that goes all over the city.
I mean,
Wow.
you're kind of
Not
not
the
wrong.
context I thought we were gonna get, but here we are. You would, looking around, see that the side of the island that you are on is decently mountainous. The Isle of Hermea is not that small. It's not big, but it's maybe like near 100 miles across, with everything that is its structure kind of localized to this southeastern corner of what promises.
100 miles is good. It's a good island. It's a good sized island.
Yeah, behind you, past the lair, in the wilds of Hermea, it would get relatively mountainous, seeming to be geologically the further peaks of whatever this island itself actually is. As you would know, Hermea is way out in the ocean. This is not like off the coast of anything. This is in like the center of the ocean. So this is like the precipice of some incredible mountain range beneath the waters around it.
Well, no time like the present, eh, boys?
No time like the present.
Okay.
He says to 3 women and a rat.
You're sulky.
0 boys.
You're sulky.
Making your way down to Promise would be a decently traveled and pleasant road, well maintained through these green environs around you. You would be walking through no thick forest, and it would not be long after the departure of the lair that you would come into the outskirts of this farmland.
Don't mean to interrupt, but just looking around really quick, lore herbalism, I want to just see if I can get a sense if the plant life is like it is on the rest of Galarian, or if there are species and things here that I just have literally never seen before.
Looking around at the like the grass and what few scattered trees there are just in the natural areas before the farmland, nothing really strikes you as out of the ordinary, but go and roll me a lore herbalism. You alchemist, herbalist, you.
Ex-druid.
Ex-druid, that's true. You had a druid living in your head for a while.
I did.
Came out and then died. But
Thanks for that reminder.
He's on a roll today. Really.
Nice tree.
43.
this is not going to bring up everyone's past character trauma day, apparently. Is this what we're doing?
Bring it. What do you got?
I'm next.
Gotta make some stuff up now. This is an improv exercise for you, bud.
Once you get into the farmland, it gets interesting. These rows of crops are not cabbages and corn and potatoes. In fact, with a 43 in herbalism, you have no idea what's growing in most of these farms. It's not obvious. There are some strange white stocky plants that almost look like headless cattails, jutting almost perfectly straight like bars up in rows from the ground. There is a farm of these massively wide, like blue-veined, leafy things that look kind of like the leaves of an overgrown dandelion with no central stalk. There's an assortment of small berry bushes, the berries growing across which seem to spread a spectrum from a bright yellow to an almost like neon blue. Around the thing, perfectly rounded, almost perfectly spherical little beads. You don't recognize near any of this.
Hey, Sev, go grab me just some little bits of some of that stuff and bring it back to me. I don't want to stop and collect it, but I do want some samples. It's interesting.
And so everyone would shoot off to one of these little berry bushes, pulling off a bright blue bead-like little berry and quickly flying back and just dropping it off in your hand. I guess he doesn't have lips, he's a bird, so...
Interesting.
With it in your hand, the skin of this berry is very rigid. It still has some give to it. It's still soft, and it's almost perfectly smooth. But testing a little bit, you feel like you could almost like totally pulp whatever flesh was inside it without even breaching the skin of the outside. It has such a strange resistance. It's almost rubbery.
Odd.
Is that what they're going here?
Yeah, there's nothing here is grown naturally on Galarian that I recognize. I don't recognize any of it.
Well, be careful with it.
I'm not going to eat a strange berry. Don't worry.
I mean, I'm sure it's not like wild berry poisonous.
Raz.
It's worth a shot.
You just eat a berry?
I don't have a berry to eat. I can walk over and grab one.
Salivating.
I was wondering if that was the implication, was that you were just like...
I'm gonna switch my exploration activity to babysitting.
There's a lot of interesting and exciting experiences here on the Isle of Hermea.
Getting
but
poisoned.
I'll just point out that Katapesh, actually a large part of its agriculture is growing drugs.
Yes,
So-
I know this.
Yes, I'm sure you do,
I'm
but you
from-
seem to have
from there.
forgotten if you're going to run over there and just eat random strange berries.
I really doubt it. This place seems like it would farm subsistence.
As you get closer to the Great Walls, their true size looming in further on you with every step, the farms and fields do start to give way to more traditional crops, though seemingly with absolutely no regard for the season. You see corn, potatoes, tomatoes all grown together in rows. You see cabbages and watermelons in adjacent fields. No seemingly care for the climate or for the soil or again for the season or the time or the weather or anything. The climate here is rather warm for what we said was Kuthona is December. For mid Kuthona, it's much warmer than it was in Breach Hill. So this must be almost tropically temperate. And still, all of this seems to be growing perfectly fine. Beyond that, it seems bountiful. Not only are these crops producing what looks to be incredible amounts of yields, the yields themselves are huge. They are large. A single stalk of corn bearing dozens of almost tightly packed ears near down the whole of its shaft to the ground. A strand of watermelons growing them in clusters like they were berries. I guess they technically are berries, but you get the point that I'm making. I don't want to get into that right now. I saw the look.
I'm going to go grab some soil because if we can replicate this, alchemically and reverse engineer it, Buddy's going to die by a happy man.
These things are practically grotesque. What are you doing?
You know,
grabbing some soil.
I wonder how much of these walls are for protecting the city and how much of these walls might be, I don't know, keeping magic in, or if this is really just years and years of
Dragon poops everywhere.
Oh, that might explain it. The only reason I can explain these walls is just public works projects. You have to spend your money on something. You have to put people to work. Let's make the walls higher. I mean, the walls are so high, they're indefensible. Someone could walk up and dig a hole under the wall. You couldn't stop them if there is an invading army
What if
here.
the wall went into the ground too?
Sappers, they just chip their way through them with little hammers and chisels.
Or big gophers.
That would take forever.
Weaponizing gophers. Oh, it could revolutionize warfare.
Are we in the walls yet?
As you get to the walls here, you would see one gap that looks like a single fine crack with how tall the walls are, but in truth is as wide as the full road.
Wait, they cut the gap all the way down
They
the
sure
wall?
did.
Jeez.
There is no gatehouse. It is simply a void in the walls. So as you theorize,
Wow.
they clearly are not for defense. This is just an opening here. It has no.
This is Roshin's reaction. She just doesn't understand it. It's
He
like
did it because he was bored. That's all this is.
What army they're defending from? The free people of Hermea? Like, it's a 100-mile island.
But when you got a big old horde like that, you might as well spend it, and I guess you didn't spend all of it.
But it is simply a gap in the walls that rises up again almost like a hair of sunlight against the sky near its peak with how great the walls are.
Right.
This road, two dozen feet wide, simply carrying on through as you start to get a glimpse of the city within. That spider web of walkways a few dozen feet up in the air.
Are there any people around? Have we seen anyone yet?
You would have seen maybe like a farmer or two, like in the distance, tending farms, but near nothing.
Revelare. Walls detect magic.
Okay. You're definitely gonna detect like so many. Well, I guess you actually are not immediately gonna detect any magic, and you're like coming up to the walls because we haven't gotten to them yet because there would be a quartet of guards that are posted near the entryway. There's not nothing. They do have 4 guards just standing there defending the empty void that is the gatehouse.
I'm seeing if these are Kevlar type walls or if they're just normal type walls.
So as you approach the guards and they're coming towards you, you ignore them, turn to the walls, walk over, and cast Detect Magic is what's happening. And what I'm telling you is you're not getting up to the walls.
What I'm saying
will
is,
happen later.
before I even see the guards, I would do that because you just
It's
said
like
we
a
didn't see anybody.
30-foot bubble.
Yeah, you're way out of range.
Oh. 60 feet?
Probably should talk to him first.
But as you come down the road here, you would very much be the only people on this road, immediately apparent to the guards on duty. Each of which would be wearing a golden steel uniform with a full visored helmet, the top of which almost looks like the ridged crest of a dragon, looping back from above the eyes down the back of the helmet. Gilded spalders mounted upon a bright steel, fairly traditional breastplate. Each of them with a long sword on their hip, a bow slung across their back, and strapped to their off arm a wide white and gold kite shield with the full depiction of a stylized golden dragon upon its face on a white field. Two of the guards would approach, one raising a hand towards you as you came near to this passageway into the city. Hey!
Oh, hey there, bud.
He looks across. You've all got your visitor's pins on, I assume.
Yeah.
Welcome to the City of Promise. Do you know where you're going? Or do you require an escort?
Yeah, escort would be good. We're going to the Beggar's Quarter to hopefully get rooms.
Oh, perfect. Is this your first time within the Golden City?
That it is.
Oh, then I advise that directly behind us down the road here, and he motions back, pointing with 2 fingers down this wide road that looks like it just continues straight from this crack all the way to this golden domed building at the heart of Promise. After a couple dozen feet, it does hit a pair of ramped staircases that lead up to the beginning of this white webbed network overhead. I'd recommend you head up either of those staircases there to the causeways. There's a lot going on up there today. Most of the festivities are due to start here in a few hours, and there's a fair number of festival goers ready for the graduation ceremony. Some folk preparing the parade way, but there's plenty of space for you to walk by. You'll move down towards the Golden Citadel, just past it. Turn yourselves cardinally right. It'll be as you go around the Citadel, the second passage on this walkway to your right, and the first descent there will take you to the Beggar's Quarter.
You get that, Kaladar?
Oh yeah, I was paying real good attention, bud.
Okay, excellent.
One of us can walk with you if you like.
Left at Albuquerque.
Well, if you wouldn't mind a change of scenery, certainly.
That's no trouble at all. Please. And he'll nod back to the two guards near the gate who don't, like, I've just out of interest kind of been looking your direction, but you get the sense that none of them look like they're not presenting a front or anything here. The other two in the back are still just kind of hanging back. They don't seem to expect problems. Possibly understandably, the city seems very tightly controlled. But as he walks back towards this main road into town, assuming the group of you all follow into Promise proper, you come directly in between a huge sprawl of buildings on your right and a massive open field on your left. Throughout that open field, you would see hundreds and hundreds of people with what looks to be an incredible mile-long festival ground, looking like a state fair. With a huge assortment of pop-up booths, both of vendors and food and games. You would hear a wide assortment of music and see performances happening, and just dozens and dozens and dozens of families and people milling about enjoying themselves. A great banner near the center with, again, at its heart, this golden dragon, and a graduation ceremony sprawled out to either side.
Written in Taldane?
It would be written in Taldane, yes.
Hey, bud, what's that fancy little banner there say?
Graduation ceremony.
Oh, that's where it's going to happen. Okay.
That looks fun. That looks like a lot of fun.
This is your first time in the city. Once you've had an escort assigned to you in the Beggar's Quarter, I highly encourage, and I'm sure they'll recommend much the same, to come join the festivities here. You've come at a very promised time. The graduation ceremonies are one of the biggest festivals in all the city throughout the year.
Oh, that's partly why we're here.
Fascinating.
Well, fantastic, isn't it? It's rare that outsiders are invited in for the event, but it's always good to see it open up. It's good to get to share our culture and our victories, our new classes of up-and-coming citizens of promise with the world at large.
Will you tell me something? Tell us something about it. We'd love to hear.
Well, everyone that you'll see today are the fine new men and women ready to undertake their contract of citizenship tomorrow on the third day of the festivities. Each of them, now 16 summers, has gone through all of their formal testing and training and passed with flying colors. And chosen, of course, I'm unsure who wouldn't, to join the city proper Citizens of Promise.
Well, what happens to the kids who don't pass with flying colors, you know?
There is a remedial study available. Everyone born within the walls is always offered a second and, if rarely necessary, a third attempt to be able to pass their exams and their various tests. It's rare, but not unheard of for someone to be unable to succeed after the third attempt, but it's usually due to a lack of commitment or a true lack of heart.
The final test I've heard of the third one, actually, you have to wrestle a bear, and if you lose, well, then no remedials needed after that.
There's no wrestling of bears here, but combat testing is, of course, part of the regimen.
That's what I heard Valentina had to do to pass her second year, her kindergarten.
The body and the mind must be trained equally, as they are both equally valuable. What use is a strong mind within the frail body, Menkare says, and his words are wise.
He's a dragon, so...
And as you look out through this festival here, you would see that there are zero people in this crowd, none, that do not look like exceptionally well-trained physical specimens. Everybody,
super yoked.
They're not all like massive Valentinian bodybuilders, but
Valentinian
bodybuilders.
Like
It's Jerusalem.
But they all look like they all are very upright, They all are clearly very well fit and toned and taken care of. There was an incredible variety of fashions on display from all corners of Avestan and the world, even beyond that. And you see an incredible mix of the human races of the world, not just from within Avestan, but plenty of Gurundi and Tian people, even some of the, admittedly to my other brain, as I always forget what the fourth continent on Galarian is, oft forgotten Arcadian folk. Near everything is represented in this incredible tapestry of the people of promise. But it is a tableau of near every human culture on the world, and I mean just that. Every single person is human. It's a homogeny that you will have never seen anywhere else in Galarian.
I feel very, very, very much out of place, more so than normal. Usually there's 0 rat folk, Yosoki. And now there's even less than 0.
Well, don't count yourself so short, Raz.
Why, buddy? He's pretty short.
But he put himself as less than 0.
That's no good.
You need not worry yourself. There's not a man, woman, or certainly child under the age of 7 or 8 who hasn't heard of the Yosoki people in their studies.
Oh, I feel a lot better here than I do most towns.
You may get plenty of interesting questions from curious children, I imagine, but
I have plenty of interesting answers for interesting questions for curious children. This is exciting. I can't wait.
oh, I'm glad you take to it so warmly. The inquisitive minds of the youths have always impressive amounts of curiosity.
All right.
What is the dome? I've heard so much about it.
Oh, that's Menkare's Golden Citadel. It's the heart of the City of Promise. It's our municipal and public center. A quarter of it is open to the public if you wish to have your guide take you in there and see it at some point during your stay. It's truly an impressive structure. But truth be told, really, it's more four independent quadrants united under this one gilded dome. It's where we handle all of the business. It's where the Council of Enlightenment for the city convenes, and it's where Menkare holds most of his meetings for the people and delivers his announcements and proclamations.
How lovely.
It truly is a beautiful place. And as he gestures over as you're nearing the staircase to the right here, all the buildings that you can see on your immediate right look like they are very well and finely made, but relatively plain in their structure. They look to be tiered, wide domiciles of some sort, almost like small-sized manors, but without the expansive grounds, all just kind of taken together, lined up down this main thoroughfare, and then down the smaller roads that intersperse beyond that. You see a great number of people crossing this main street, further down closer to the Golden Citadel, coming and going from this massive festival on your left to the further buildings on the right, where it looks like they're consolidated into much larger, almost interconnected campuses of sorts. And you see a great number of what are almost certainly the graduates themselves, all done up in near identical golden cloaks that drape all the way down to the floor. Around their shoulders and their collars, embroidered with what looks like overlapping gilded scales. And each of them wearing a circular, almost like a skull cap crown placed directly center atop their heads. With what small raised kind of braided ridges around the outside of it.
Does this mean that the causeways aren't like at the height of the walls? They're actually just kind of...
No, they're not 100 feet in the air.
Okay.
They're like 30 feet in the air.
Okay.
In some places, several of the higher... None of the buildings go larger than what would be a traditional, like 2-3 stories, so none of them are up higher than the causeways themselves.
And I would assume that since there were stairs at the beginning of this, that there's no wagon traffic or vehicle traffic up here.
Everything that you don't see any vehicles moving about in here.
Are there other people up on this platform? I mean,
you're getting to the staircase right now.
Oh, sorry. The scale of this place is... I'm still not used to it.
Massive.
Okay. In my head, we were on top of the causeway.
As the guard takes a couple of steps onto the stairs. Now be careful when you get to the top of this. It catches near everyone off guard.
Are Are the stoles all different, or are they all the same? Like
They all appear to be identical.
identical. Is it possible to gain citizenship and promise any other way aside from being born here?
Oh, well, of course. We didn't start with a full self-sufficient population, and to this day, we still don't have one. Mainkare has his Scarlet Triad traveling out throughout the world, seeking out the greatest minds and the most creative and well-honed talents of the world to offer them invitations. First to visit the city, and then to offer them an invite to stay, should they choose.
Not
Few
anymore.
refuse it.
Is that a fact now?
Indeed. It's been the operation of the city for, well, near 100 years now, I believe. And as you step onto the staircase here, a very interesting thing happens to you. Though it does look like about 3-4 stories of stairs you have to climb up. You take your first step on the staircase, but your second step feels as if the next stair is at the same height as the first. It doesn't feel like you're stepping up onto another stair. It feels like you simply continue to walk forward on flat ground, which is something that is immediately at odds with what your eyes and your brain are telling you. As you can clearly see, you are walking upstairs. Additionally, if you continue to walk, the ground drops away at what feels like an incredibly rapid pace, much faster than it feels like you should be ascending.
Oh.
It would be disorienting and perhaps even nauseating.
Ooh, would you mind very much if I examined that magically? Is that okay?
Of course. I can't imagine it's something that'll be easily able to be unwoven in a moment's glance, but you're welcome to take your look.
Revelare.
And you would feel an incredibly powerful aura of abjuration over these stairs here. Abjuration and transmutation, which is flowing out from the staircase into each of you as you climb it.
Kaladar rolled a real low fortitude save and pukes over the side. I literally rolled it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I rolled a 6 on the die. Yeah, it's not strong enough. His fort is the lowest save. He vomits over the side of the staircase.
Oh,
Ooh.
get it out there. It's all right. It's all right.
Poor dear.
What happens if I try to jump or take 4 steps at a time? If I would take 4 steps in one go, what happens?
Roll me a
to
reflex save.
We've been teleported enough.
We're fine.
Teleport.
45.
45. Your brain would again process like you're doing that normally, and you would feel this magic fade for a moment as you were midair, and you would go from this feeling of flat progression to upwards to flat again. It's something that would make someone who was less trained and less balanced stumble, if not fall entirely. But you're able to take it in stride. It's just a very interesting and unique feeling.
Okay, I'm gonna do that a couple of times. I'm just gonna be like, oh, this is huh.
Look at it go.
Just sort of bounce up the
What
stairs.
what does it look like when she? So what does it look like if we're looking at other people as they're climbing? The
It
stairs?
looks like-
'Cause she's now like well ahead of us. And I can see
Everyone
her
else
climbing.
looks like they're just walking up and down stairs, and there would be plenty of other folk going up and down the stairs here with you. The stairs are probably about 12 feet wide. It's a not a massive but a quite wide staircase. And there's one on either side, about 12 feet of stairs, and then probably 20 feet of road and 12 feet of stairs. As this seems to be the main approach from the front of the city up onto this walkway. Everyone looks like they're going up and down, but
our
you
bodies don't feel.
trying to focus on any one of them. You can see the stairs, you can see their feet going stair to stair, but you almost see their feet and the stairs kind of like sliding and walking simultaneously, which if you just look at a section of the stairs, it looks immobile, and your brain doesn't process the stairs they're on moving. It again looks to be at odds with itself, and it's very hard to
It's
rationalize.
like watching an NPC in a Bethesda game climbing. Yeah, they're just clipping.
or like an
through it.
old PS2 game where they don't
okay.
actually sync up with the
So
staircase.
Kaladar pays attention to some feet and again vomits over the side.
Stop
and then
doing that.
from now he's just gonna watch him basically right. He's gonna just focus on his own
And even
chest.
as you look a second time, the guard is kind of stopped for you at this point. I do
Oh, he
recommend.
didn't stop. Oh no, he just as he's walking. He's good at this.
I
Look
recommend
at the boneyard. It's rotten.
most people find it the easiest if you focus on a fixed point ahead of you. Don't look down. Look towards your destination at the top of the stairs and just keep your eyes right there.
I'm just gonna be like above you guys, just like turn around, looking, like watching you.
I'm gonna look at her then.
Oh,
I could carry you if you need me to.
Oh no, bud, I'm okay.
Are you though? Are you?
So I'm really heavy.
It's a great boon once you get used to it, but you're not the first visitor to have this reaction, and I'm sure you won't be the last.
it's like sailing, Cal. You just keep your eyes on the horizon.
What's sailing?
I have had it described to me as sort of gathering your sea legs before, much the same as the causeways above. And again, do be careful with your first step onto the causeway.
I would imagine so.
Does it do more of this thing when we're up there?
A similar enchantment, but horizontal and one more for speed. Each step you take up there will cover the ground of 10 on the street below.
Huh.
The abjuration effect is very strong.
It's a potent one, wards that many of our wizards spend much of their days maintaining, but a very useful one indeed. Not only does it allow quick movement throughout the city, it allows easy transportation of goods, as any load that you carry on the stairs or on the causeways feels as if it's half, if not a quarter, of its weight.
Does that fit? Like, happen to like our gear and stuff too? Is that
You
instant?
would. You probably wouldn't notice it a ton with your leather armor, especially because it's like a second skin to you.
Right.
All you'd be extremely used to it. It only points it out. You would kind of notice that like your armor does weigh less heavily on you.
The book's not as heavy.
It looks not as heavy.
I'll try to pick Kaladar up. Hang on a minute, just 1 second.
You now have like a baby. He just vomits down your back.
No, there's no way you have anything left in that stomach
I mean,
of yours.
It's just bile now.
We've already determined that the exploration activity is babysitting.
That's appropriate.
So Valentina certainly would be the first one at the top of the stairs up onto the causeway here. Who's coming up behind her?
I would be.
I mean, Raz and I haven't stopped moving, unlike
Well, then
these
you
two
two make me
clowns.
reflex saves, Raz and Resme.
Oh, I'm good at
cringing
these.
As I observe this sort of vomit fest
19
happening
on the die.
below.
46.
46.
Resme kind of turns around and is like, ha! You guys are idiots. Oh!
Raz is actually on all fours, is going up the stairs at this point. He lost balance a long time ago.
3 on the die for a 33.
So with a 33, Resme, as you step up on the top here, your first step off of the stairs onto the causeway, you would immediately feel like you had, you know, those airport walk-a-lators? Like you'd walked onto one of those moving at double speed unexpectedly, and you'd step and your foot would zoot out ahead of you, and you would definitely fall down like half splits to the ground in your dress. As you go to fall, all of you would see the guard almost supernaturally fast quickly reach out with his free hand, throwing out an arm to catch you.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
What a gentleman.
You better watch out there, bud. This one.
It is it is an awkward sensation to transition, but again, it's something you very much get used to. And up on the top, taking a step, once you're up there, it feels fine. It's the step from the stairs onto the causeway that gets you. But once you're up there, everything feels normal, and you would move as normal with the large crowd that is up down either side of the causeway. Another what looks like a few hundred people. None of them in these gowns this time, all adults. Lined up down either side of the path with what would be kind of like those movie theaters. There's a name for those like roped kind of barrier
Banisters,
things. Like a kind of roped banisters.
Stanchions.
Stanchions is the word I was looking for. Thank you.
The word I didn't even know.
With rows.
The guy who doesn't know how to read.
No, that's the player. The character
Rows
would
of
not
white
know that.
stanchions on gilded posts, cutting away about a 20-ish foot section at the middle of this causeway. The causeway itself, full width as wide as the road below it. It'd be 40 feet across. And as the guard helps each of you up on the top, each step you take would move you, and again, in a way that seems rational to everything you see around you. But if you look at the city in the distance, you would see each step you take, the city just zoot by numerous, like almost a dozen feet, and just a couple of steps, like an incredible acceleration.
You know, it's an
Run
awful
down
shame
one
that,
way, turn around, run back down to the group, turn around, run back down one
Just
way.
like a kid in an airport.
As you run down through this crowd here, this will be vastly majoritively adults. You would see, along with the strange proportion of the people here, a very, very small amount of children compared to what you would expect in a settlement of this size. It's not a big ratio at all. Not just enough to be noticeable, but you would see like a quarter, maybe a tenth of the kids that you would expect of the families in the crowd versus just the adults. There are very, very few of them. And you kind of get the feeling that the couple of golden graduate outfits that you've seen walk around may literally be almost all of them. There seems to be very little youth in Promise. But as you sprint down one side, you would hear a little girl who looks to be maybe about 5 or 6 in the audience point out towards you, Mommy, it's a Yusoki!
I turn around, a big old fleur, fall on my butt, stand up, put the hat back on, wipe myself on, then run back down to the group.
He is just like a giant rat.
Wow.
So is there, so Mr. Guard, Mr. Sir,
Of course.
is there low birth rates in Promise?
I suppose no more than is intentional.
That's a weird way to phrase it there, bud.
It's just,
Intentional?
Well, I'm not, I suppose, entirely confident what you mean. There's what Menkare feels is a perfectly reasonable and adequate amount of births to maintain this population.
got it.
There's what Menkare deem.
Well, of course. If you've all got your feet, and he motions just kind of keep walking down, you're walking and talking on the causeway. Menkare approves all pairings in the city, of course. I understand this isn't how you do things throughout the rest of the world, but, well, that's why you have all
Actually,
the
it pretty much is.
homelessness and the murders and all of those things, of course, none of which are problems here in Promise.
Yes, of course. Approves all pairings. Fascinating.
Like a big dragon matchmaker.
Approves and organizes them, of course, to ensure that the children that are brought up within Promise have the best chances possible. The perfect pairings of the ideal parents.
Yikes.
Roisin just possibly audibly grinding her teeth.
Sounds
I know
like
it's always a strange system to foreigners, but it's a truly incredibly effective one.
sounds like the Elvish nobility.
It's just their culture.
From what studies I can remember of Keonan, elves weren't very much my specialty, but what a few of the houses practiced in a somewhat similar fashion. But rather than being arranged for purposes of political gain or for land or titles, it is simply to give the children the best chance possible and to give Promise the best and brightest minds.
Were you born here in Promise?
Yeah, I was wondering that myself.
I was born and raised here.
What's your name?
Jeremy.
Thank you.
Of course. Any questions that the group of you have? What?
Did it just to annoy Nick. I wanted to get a name for him to write down.
Any questions that the group of you have, I or anyone else wearing this uniform within the city of Promise will be more than glad to answer. Your guide that you will be assigned once you arrive in Beggar's Quarter will gladly give you any amount of the history or culture of Promise that you so desire.
Are there any other uniforms or specific people we should be aware of as indicators telling us that they do something specific?
Well, if you return here after you've had your assignments, have your escort bring you back here within a couple of hours. The parade is due to begin. You should be able to see most of the members of the city's Council of Enlightenment present.
Lovely.
Beyond that, no, not really. The people of Promise are very open and friendly folk, without having to worry about feeding the mouths of far too many citizens or unwanted children, without having to fight the evils of bandits or invading armies or monsters. Most of the people are free to pursue their hobbies, to pursue their merits, hone their art, their craft, their science, their research, and all of them are typically more than glad to share it.
Exciting.
Very much so.
Fascinating.
I can't wait to see our hotel.
Oh, it is beautiful. Even within the Beggar's Quarter and even for outsiders and visitors, Menkare is spared no expense. You will truly get a taste of what it's like to live in the City of Promise. The Beggar's Quarter has everything that you could ask for, from food to entertainment to all sorts of personal distractions and diversions. There's libraries you can spend your time in. There are a great number of workshops and laboratories free and open for you to use. Your escort will be able to explain further for you, but near anything that you desire. If it can't be provided to you, certainly can be found within the city. Of course, as long as you have your visitor's pins and your escort, you're more than welcome to peruse the shops of the town as well. Okay.
We're gonna go shopping.
Are we?
One more victim.
Just out of idle curiosity. No. I had to suffer through it. So does she.
At this point, you would already have covered 10 times as much distance as you had on the ground and would be approaching the Golden Citadel, where this causeway would branch off into a circle that seems to enwrap the entirety of the building, where the guard would turn you around to the right as you walk around this roundabout.
When was the last time you'd say that another crop of exceptionally talented individuals happened to be arrived back on promise that the Triad sent over?
Oh, as in more immigrants from the outside world?
Yes, exactly.
I wouldn't know. It's not my department, truly, and personally, I've never taken much interest in the comings and goings, I suppose.
I didn't realize if they made a big deal of it or not.
No, I'm a musician by trade. I've practiced my work on the lute, and when I'm not on duty, well, with this, which most of us, near everyone in Promise, takes shifts with the simple tasks, guarding the outer gates and helping organize logistics with the parades and everything. That's what I spend much of my time doing, down in the artists' district.
What's the most annoying instrument?
Don't
Most
answer.
annoying instrument.
Most annoying
I
instrument.
find they're near all beautiful in their own way.
Oh, if you had to rank one as the most annoying.
I once heard this, and I only practiced with it briefly, admittedly. I'm only really fluent with a. He doesn't seem to. I'm only really fluent.
For anyone who's just listening to the audio, half of the characters at this table are wildly gesturing the "cut it off at the neck, please don't go there," because someone's got this in their ear.
This gesture is meaningless in Promise. No one dies.
They don't know what it means.
I'm only really personally practiced with a lute, a violin, a cello, a little bit of work with the flute, the clarinet, various horns. But I had tried a few of the other woodwinds around the family, and there was this mwangi instrument that was almost like a large, oversized bassoon, like a wide wooden stick that just produced the worst. I don't mean to.
No,
to
you're right.
Look ill upon a culture, but the droning sound it emitted was just the strangest.
I hate it.
And
Can I
it
use-
rattled. I felt my ears rattling in my skull.
The book to make that instrument. Can the book that you gave me turn into that instrument?
Absolutely.
I turn it into that instrument.
Raz pulls out a giant didgeridoo.
Yes!
As his book turns into it. Oh, yes, exactly that sound.
You know, there's actually a lot of really interesting songs from the Mwangi Expanse that can only be played on these types of instruments.
I don't want to hear any of them.
And I'd learned a few, but I hadn't any interest in learning them any further.
But the problem is you need like a more than just one, like 2, 3, maybe 6.
Oh, no, I understand. It also intermishes very well with their tiangi and their kambawas. Accompanied by both of those, they do produce an interesting sort of almost dissonant melody.
I think the worst instrument for me, I turn it into bagpipes.
You know what? We're up on the wall, so it totally makes sense that this is what we'd be playing.
At this point, you have encircled about a quarter of the citadel and then forked off towards the southeast quadrant of the city, where he seems to be guiding you quickly towards a set of stairs. And he nods like, yes, Sander and bagpipes. That would be a common answer to that question, I assume.
Yes, it's very common. I've only started recently asking it, but I know most people don't like them. Here, I have a gift for you. I hand him sheet music.
They would turn back and take it.
If you can read Yosoki notes on there. It's from my great-great-grandfather.
Nobody
It's the original
has
song.
notes.
It's a very interesting melodic progression, and this section, that's a very non-traditional change of key. It's curious.
It's a lullaby. He used to sing it to my mother Azadia to bring her to sleep. She was a terrible sleeper at night.
Well, I very much thank you for this.
What did it sound like there, bud?
He plays
Could you sing it for us?
I can't sing. I'm a very bad singer. I can't sing. I'm a very bad singer.
That's Mataz's area.
Yeah, it's Mataz's area. But I pull out it's a simple little, he turns the book into like a simple little flute. Like it's not a very advanced flute. It's like a few, like 5 or 6 holes in it. And he plays this slow, kind of melodic song, and it speeds up and almost kind of reminiscent of a skittering of rats, just like kind of squeaking. But then it slows back down and it gets slower and slower, as if the rats themselves are falling asleep. As one by one, you lose more and more of the progressions, and it goes slower and slower until it's just one more. And then that finally just kind of winks out.
That would be really creepy to humans. I'm glad my mom didn't sing that song to me.
The guard would stop at the top of the stairs and extend an arm to whoever was closest. Now, same thing of going down. This enchantment's going to fade. Be careful. A lot of visitors describe it as a very abrupt halt. You'll feel almost as if you've walked into a wall.
Roshin's going to brace her foot, and as she puts it down the rock brace rune, stop her momentum.
I'm walking behind Roshin, so worst comes to worst, I just bash into her.
But as he helps the group of you down to the stairs, you would descend towards what would certainly to all of you seem to be the terribly ill-named Beggar's Quarter, where you would be let out here in front of what looks to be a three-winged, enormous, two-leveled, sprawling manor. And approaching down on the ground, back to just walking normally, he would gesture out and again point towards the front door of this. This is the finest visitor lodging in all the city. If you inquire within, any one of the associates on hand will be gladly able to quickly assign you various domiciles within and tend to whatever needs you may have, including, of course, assigning you an escort for travel within the city. Again, I would personally recommend that you find places to stash your things. Get some food if that's what you require. I don't know how your journey was. Approaching from the gates, I can only imagine that... It kind of stops for a second. No, Mankari's been gone. Huh. Whatever your business. Rest up and eat from your travels as necessary. I would truly recommend you hurry back near the gate where you first met. So the parade is one of the greatest events in Promise to Witness. And please, enjoy your stay. If you have any questions, seek anyone in this uniform.
You've been very kind, sir.
Thank you.
Of course. Now, I must return to my station. A few hours left in my shift. I'm fortunate to be assigned somewhere I'll be able to see much of the festivities. And,
Before you go,
of course.
we are new enough here that we would like to not offend by being from elsewhere. What is the policy in commerce as far as lodgings and tips? And I'm not entirely sure how your economic system works here.
Just raises his hand. You need not concern yourself with any of that. No one here within the City of Promise is beholden to coin. None of us need work for it to feed our families or live our lives, and the stewards within are well versed in working with visitors from a wide variety of outside cultures. They'll take no offense no matter what you do. They will traditionally refuse any direct payment or tips, as none are expected. No expense should be necessary for visitors to Mankare's beautiful city in order to simply exist here.
So when you mentioned shops,
Now, outside of the Beggar's Quarter, there are some... there isn't no trade. We have a port.
Okay.
We require imports, of course, to sustain ourselves to some degree, and many of the fine folk like to sell some of their works, their creations, their hobbies, much of it going across the seas to Absalom, Erodin's city, further in Aveston. But many will also open their doors for more intimate trade with visitors here within the city itself.
I understand. Thank you.
Which is good, because we're getting you an entirely new wardrobe. A lot of it's going to be in a lovely shade of emerald green.
Oh, it would set up your hair very nicely.
I know, right? I've been thinking about that since we first met her.
The Taylor's District is the one far to the southwestern side of the city, nearest to the gates, just north of it.
Oh, fabulous.
An entire district of various fashions, gowns, and attires for you to peruse. Not just in various fashions from throughout the world, but also of wide use as well. Very recently, many of Syria have started to adopt a design of turban that was developed here, one that is not just dust-proof, but rejects the sparse rains the place has, where they would ruin the previous silk ones they'd worn before.
Ooh.
But, again, I must return. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Have fun with your shift.
Good day, sir.
And as he turns
Turban.
to head back to the stairs and back up to the causeway, leaving the group of you before this massive manor, I think it's a good place to take our midstream break
I
here.
like it.
I guess now that we're at the manor, but you can put me down there.
carrying your
gets down.
baby.
Oh, I was wondering why it felt so much heavier. Yes.
Wipes his mouth a little bit. Thanks for the help there, bud.
Welcome to Promise, everyone. We're going to be
on your back.
heisting it, I
You don't
guess.
have to worry about liars here in Promise. They'll believe anything we tell them.
Couldn't happen to a nicer group of people.
Worst gate guard ever.
Oh yeah, come on in.
Come on in. Let me tell you how awesome everything is. You have free lodging. Man, you're suspicious from where you came from. Whatever. Just come.
You have visitors pins.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, didn't ask about your holy symbols there.
No one recognizes them.
Yeah.
Milani
none
is
of
like
you-
as far removed as you can possibly
None of
get.
you worship a prominent enough god that it would immediately be picked up by the guard. You have an Alceta necklace and you have a symbol of Milani, which are both relatively minor, and I don't think you three
Wow,
have
rude.
really anything displayed.
Nope.
So, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. We're going to take a 10-minute break here. Don't go too far. Be right back, everyone.
Wonder. I'm not that jacked.
Welcome back, everybody. Before we continue, I wanted to throw out real quick that we have a giveaway going on our Twitter right now, twitter.com/UGT show. I'm sure a link will show up in the chat in a moment here. We are giving away, giving away a pair of gift certificates to Norse Foundry that you can put towards anything. So instead of us giving away a specific set of dice, like we've done a couple of times in the past, we'll just give you magical dollar cards that can be any dice that your heart desires. All the details on entering is right there at that Twitter link. You can enter a huge variety of ways by interacting with our various socials. But if you want 40 entries into that giveaway right now, there is an option for a secret code in there. And a secret code you can use is UGTAOA40. All capital letters, apparently, I learned at the beginning of the show. UGTAOA40. One word, all caps. 40 raffle tickets into the gift certificate
40
giveaway.
numbers.
40.
Yeah, those are numbers.
Scream like you mean it.
For all of you that are hanging out, supporting our content, supporting our channel, watching the show. As we left off, the group had arrived at the inn. We're
What?
rubbing the rat for luck.
It's the king. You have to pay respect.
Oh, fair enough.
Imitaz.
And he's gone. We had just arrived at our lodgings in the Beggar's Quarter of Promise, a massive three-winged manor where a very kind guard had escorted us across most of the city on the great causeways to where we would need to check in and get our lodgings while we're here.
Oh, I'm all empty there, bud. So I'm gonna need some food.
Probably some water too.
And a spa visit.
What is the trip to the cleaners?
Well, first things first, a room.
Right.
Oh yeah. I guess we gotta sleep inside, eh?
Let's go ahead and we'll have to actually go and see which rooms the dragon decides would be best for us to sleep in for the good of the city. That's how that's going to work, I'm sure.
Don't be such a wet blanket.
Oh no, I think I agree with you. Probably the dragon's gonna decide.
Dragon just seems to decide everything.
The dragon's not here to decide anything.
You don't know that, bud.
The people don't know that yet. The
I
entire
think-
society would collapse if word got out.
I think they do, though. The guard mentioned that he isn't here.
He also seemed a bit surprised by it, so let's maybe not bring attention to it.
I'm with her on this one.
It's whatever.
Well, as a group, you head through an open garden in front of this manor, surrounded by some very low, well-maintained flowering hedges. No gate as such, but a cobbled pathway looping around a small fountain in the middle. You realize as you get to the center that this garden in front of the manor is itself almost exactly the diorama from the cave that you had come from, the fountain at its center, representing the Golden Citadel, and this cobbled path mirrored by many others, spiderwebbing throughout this garden. The districts replaced with various strange and unknowable growths of flowers and strange interwoven, like spiraling ferns. A whole variety of horticulture unknown to the party here. Again, things that Resme maybe would recognize a couple from being things you've seen from far abroad, but nothing you would have seen anywhere in person before.
Gosh, that's it's not even the right climate for those two. Like, they should only be able to grow in dry, arid wasteland.
Are you surprised now? You saw like watermelon growing next to winter fruit.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't stop surprising me.
Through the front doors of the building proper, you would come into a massive, long atrium with a rounded ceiling supported by a bunch of spiraling marbled pillars. In the center of this atrium would be a tall statue, not of a golden dragon, but of a man. A man standing with what looks to be a big mining pick over one shoulder, and down by his side in his other hand, a lumberjack's axe. His features are surprisingly plain. He has a small pointed goatee, but is otherwise clean shaven. His hair kept relatively short, cropped in pretty close around the sides, and a little longer and loose around across the top. The figure is garbed very, again, plainly, almost like a worker. Perhaps even one could say a peasant. Colby would probably say a peasant of sorts.
If you're a peasant, you're a peasant.
But there would be a desk immediately to the side with a woman standing behind it who is currently looking through what just looks to be a sizable tome. This isn't a massive spellbook or encyclopedia of any kind, but what looks to be a novel of some sort. She looks up. Her raven hair and pale face, almost certainly Chilaxian, has a smile across her face. Oh, welcome. I don't recognize any of your faces. You are new visitors?
Just so, thank you.
And she takes the book, carefully drapes a ribbon inside to mark her page, closes it, and puts it underneath the desk, and then comes out with a different ledger. Very well. I'll gladly get you sorted with your accommodations and an escort. I'll try to do so quickly. Have you heard of the graduation day ceremonies?
Yes.
Nothing but.
I would recommend, as I'm sure whoever you've spoken with before has as well. They would be great. They are fantastic to attend. Do you have names?
Oh yeah, there, bud.
You laugh, but there are some cultures throughout Tianjia and throughout Arcadia that don't possess such in a traditional sense.
Resume.
We don't like to infer, Miss Resume. Resume of...
Oh gosh, Breachill.
Of Breachill. All right. And
Roshin, same place, Breachill.
Right.
Raz. Breachill as well?
Sure, yeah. No.
Kalidar.
Breachill?
Nope.
Oh, Kalidar of... I'm sorry?
Boneyard.
Well, I guess it's been said then, eh?
You are a Dustwalker?
That's what I was looking for.
Or
He doesn't answer.
It's fair. This is simply for records. I don't mean to pry or press you for your secrets.
I am Valentina, also from Breach Hill.
Very well. All right. If you will with me, then I will show you to your lodgings. If there's anything you require after your travels, food or drink or anything of the sort, I can direct you to anything near the docks, or we can simply have it brought here at your leisure. Additionally, it can be provided to arrive wherever it is you wish to travel. If you are heading over towards the graduation ceremonies, I could have food delivered there for you.
How convenient. I think we want to drop most of our things upstairs, so that way we can attend the graduation ceremonies unencumbered.
Well, then I'll get things done quickly for you then. Follow me, if you will. And she would lead you down one of these wings. Much of the space in this main building looks to be ornamental, again, this massive open entryway. It's not exactly packed for lodging. This is not a traditional inn or a hotel where they're trying to get as many rooms as they can in a single place. As a matter of fact, this wing you're brought to only looks like it has maybe a dozen chambers in the entire wing of the manor, and it is a large wing. Would you be seeking individual lodgings, or how many would you desire?
Put me in the lodging with them.
Probably 3.
3 of them? They are all large, entire domiciles into themselves, with living quarters, separate bed chambers, their own baths and spas. You could all 5 fit comfortably in one and still have your privacy if you so desired, but if
Perfect.
you wished for individuals, I could certainly arrange that as well.
No, one suite will be fine.
We're used to traveling together, but if either of you two
I'm
would
sorry.
prefer...
I think that we probably have plenty to talk about. One suite will make that easiest.
Of course.
And Raz likes to snuggle.
Here, Zen, will be the most readily available for you. Not far from the opening atrium, easily accessible. And she would open the door into a very lushly appointed living chamber, a reception area with a small fireplace, several cushioned pieces of furniture centered around a chair. It would even have a small bar down one side available with a connected kitchen on the far end, pantry beyond that, a hallway leading down to a variety of bathing and washing areas, and a trio of bed chambers down the other end of the hallway. The far end of this would let out into a patio behind this manor, and yet further great gardens that look like they just open up into the rest of the beggars' quarters. You can see a little further in the distance an open-air amphitheater with a few rows of seating around a wooden stage at its center. And
In the house?
It is... No, that's up past the no. Yeah, in your living room.
How big is this house?
Past the patio, out the back, past the patio.
It's bigger on the inside.
It's artist style.
That's the patio.
Amphitheater in here? Holy crap. All right, sorry.
Resme, I know what you're thinking in regards to space. Just don't say it.
How did you know?
It's
No.
all over your face.
Told you we could have put the table in here.
And
Don't say it.
you notice that she's carrying the ledger with her still as she comes with you. And as she gets to this door, she has no key or anything. She simply placed a hand upon the knob and then almost waited for a second before opening it. But as you all come in and see the area, she's opened the ledger back up, and you see her kind of almost like stroke a finger across each name and then down the side of the doorknob. All right, there are no physical keys or anything that you'll need in your stays. Simply your spoken names from the ledger here, and a hand on the door frame will allow you access.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sure, why not?
I'm gonna take a look at that
much will
magically.
happen.
Does that have any sort of magical relationship to the magic that I know that enables me to key into my own name?
I mean, it would be a degree of similar, but it's much more superficial.
Okay.
It is, like, it doesn't know you. She is setting this up. It's basically using your names as a passcode.
Oh, okay.
It is
I
like
wanted to
the
see how
lowest
deep
security
it
in the
went.
world. Literally anyone could walk up to it, say resume, and open your door.
That's more what I wanted to get at.
Yes.
Okay.
You're right there, Esme. I know you're always you're a bit touchy around magical doors ever since you saw that one in Catapish.
No, I'll leave you to your privacy. Again, if there's anything you need, I'll be in the atrium. I can arrange for most anything you desire delivered here. Please, make yourselves at home.
Your
Just
name, dear lady.
Oh, my name? You put me on the spot
Oh,
here.
sorry, I didn't realize that was...
I'm just making up NPCs here. Let's go with Nadia.
Just a fair warning, the book you're reading is going to have a really, really poorly written chapter. Power through it, it gets way better.
As a writer myself, I always find that a bit interesting. I sometimes have difficulty relating with the characters of some of these, as I have a hard time seeing them through the eyes of anything other than the writer. The stages that they went through and the developments. A lot of my times I find myself relating with their mental state, and I can see it ebb and flow as they write through the various chapters of their stories. Almost an unwitting history of their own. But again, I don't want to keep you. I would gladly speak of this.
I hand her a piece of paper. This is probably the best written page I've ever read out of a single book in my entire life. It has so much emotion put into like 3 or 4 paragraphs, and it gives you a whole character arc of everything they've experienced and everything they might experience. And the author managed to foreshadow events, which I'll leave to your imagination because it's only 1 page.
You're a bibliographic menace.
I look forward to investigating this. I would want a clear mindset for it first, though. I'm currently enraptured by my array at the moment. I wouldn't want that to dilute this experience, but I thank you, Res. Again, if you need anything, I'll be in the atrium.
Pardon me for a sec. Chase after her real quick. So, if we wanted company of a more convivial sort, is that also deliverable to the room?
We're not there.
Well, actually, Roisin can hear this.
Are you serious?
Trying to get an
I look
idea.
over, Roisin, what is happening?
I'm trying to get an idea of just what is available here and what can get delivered to the room.
Roshin's not very guileful person anyway. She just like snaps her neck and stares at Resume, slightly horrified.
Nadia's expression is somewhat unwavering here. I'm afraid I may have somewhat overstated the amenities we have available. There's nothing of the sort within promise I'd easily be able to arrange for you, I'm afraid.
I didn't think so, but I wanted to check.
Of course.
Thank you.
Are you okay, Roisin?
This Resume just giving me a heart attack like she does every other day. All right, let's get these blasted rooms over with. I can almost feel this film over everything.
You are so odd.
It's all manufactured. Don't you understand that? The Beggar's Quarter, the grandest accommodations you've ever seen in your life. It's all advertising. That's all this entire thing is. Come here. We're so rich and so wealthy. The Beggar's Quarter is better than any place you've ever stayed. Oh, and we give you free food delivered anywhere in the world. They're fawning over you positively. It's sickening.
Well, it's Miss Shigo already explained it. It's one of the 12 guises of a rodent. Which is really weird for a city that doesn't like allow open worship, that they designed the entire city off one of the gods.
Aridin. I met an itinerant priest of Aridin once. From what he described of his god, Aridin would be turning over in his grave looking at this place.
Probably. I don't know too much about that. Anyways, so what's the plan?
You don't know too much about that, bud? You know stuff about everything.
Oh, I know of a rodent and of all the other major deities and some minor deities no one's ever heard of vis-a-vis Miss Roisin telling me some things about Milani. But
I will say, for the benefit of the two people who don't know anything about Galarian religion here, as well as anyone in the audience who doesn't, and anyone of the other three of you who also might not know, Arodin is dead. Arodin died about 100 years ago at this point, actually. I think a little over. His clerics no longer receive power. His divinity is gone. He is gone.
And how old is Promise?
About 100 years old.
Ooh, like a coinkydink, eh?
anyways,
Sorry, carry on with whatever you were saying over there.
so tell me, Miss Roisin, what's your plan? What is the plan that we have right now? Are we going to go see the parade and graduation ceremony? Or are we going to go check out the big golden building in the middle of the thing?
Well, assuming that everyone can be keeping their jaws closed long enough to remember what we're supposed to be doing here.
Roisin, we were just playing along. They expect us to be amazed, so let's be amazed.
I'll just be honest. Regardless,
Besides, look at the thread count. She'll rub her face up against the sheets.
it doesn't hurt to see what sort of things are for sale here. Perhaps we'll find something useful. But there's one thing that rather sycophantic guard did mention, and that's the Council of Enlightenment will be present at the parade. It might not be a bad idea to keep eyes on the city's leadership, although it's a bit unclear exactly as to what they do, given how everything happens at the direction of Menkare, the wise and powerful God King.
Seems a bit odd that he'd just be, like, gone for a couple of days, eh?
Who's going to tell him no?
Yes, there's no prostitutes here.
I don't think that.
That's a bit disappointing, eh?
I'm just saying.
Disregarding
it's something
resume?
to be noticed. I've never been to a city where that was the case. That's almost always the first thing that was for sale.
Well, if you think about it, it's generally considered to be a disruptive element by most grand authorities. And so if you're a god king who has complete say over even who can be married and what can be born, then of course you'd simply will it out of existence.
Just wanted to see how deep it went. But yeah, control's pretty total.
Well, then I also want to take a chance, and while we still have time, to go check out the big golden building in the middle. Even if I go by myself, I'm sure I can get a separate escort.
We have plenty of time, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to provide it for you. I doubt we have to be worrying about getting ourselves into the thick of things tonight or anything of that sort.
I have a knack
I
for that.
would say that they mentioned the
3 days, was it not?
third day will be the day that the 16-year-olds are taking their vows, which means at the moment, those 16-year-olds are not yet bound by citizenship to not help us when it is time to heist.
Yes, we should go corrupt the youth of promise.
Was
I
today
agree.
the second day, or he said tomorrow on the third
He said
day?
tomorrow will be the third day,
Yeah,
so
tomorrow
by
on
the
the third day.
transitive property, today is the second day of the
Yeah.
graduation ceremonies.
But Emma said that it would be. Didn't Emma say it would be 3 days before?
I must be 3 days before Mankari returned.
That's the deadline that Roshin cares about.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. So that would be another day after the end of the ceremonies.
So for now, we can get our bearings, scope out the leadership of the city, I suppose, and perhaps find some amusing trinkets or artifacts of unfathomable power that are for sale in the market.
Yes.
The dragon orb is sitting in the marketplace.
Guess how,
Just in a stall.
guess how much it weighs, and you can take it home.
To the festival ground, they're thrown in the dunk tank. The group of you could stash whatever things you desire. Are you leaving anything in this room?
Armor.
Your armor and everything?
I'll shrink the weapon. I'll shrink my sword down to like just a knife and keep it in my belt.
I'm going to bring my bag of holding with me because I'm not leaving those books anywhere.
That's fair. You're not leaving Minkari's personal library.
No.
Yeah, probably a good idea not to leave them around.
But like my spare wardrobes and stuff, I don't need any of that with me.
Fair enough. So do you still have your tabard with the...
That's kind of part and parcel with the armor.
okay, so it's gone too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it just like when if she has to go through Cheliax, you can't be wearing other sorts of things.
I'll take my Alceta medallion off as well.
Fair enough. Then the group of you will be able to head back to Nadja in the entryway, and after a surprisingly brief wait, another guard would appear. Given the incredible anonymity provided by their attire, he looks near identical to the previous guard. You can see like nothing of these people. They are, as far as you're concerned, steel automatons.
Any
With
scuff marks that are different? I am legendary in perception.
you would certainly notice that like there's definitely a different
not the
person.
same
It is-
guy.
no, this guy is a little bit shorter, a little bit wider. And as soon as he spoke, it would clearly be very much different. Greetings, I'm Gorvik. I will be your escort throughout the City of Promise as needed.
Oh, we only got one. Thought we all got our own.
Oh, did you want to go and step off by yourself to check out the?
Yeah. How long would it take for you to get a separate escort? Or do we have to go together as a group?
The escorts of the city guard are all career trained for this service. We are experts in the cultures and formalities of the world to aid you, to help in explanations, and to avoid offense. As such, supply is some degree of limited. You will have only one for the group of you. If one of you wishes for a personal foray in the city alone, I of course am glad to escort you, but your fellows will have to remain within the beggar's quarter while we are gone. I apologize for any inconvenience.
We want to go shopping. Would that be acceptable?
Of course. I could take you to any of the districts you wish to peruse. I could take you to the graduation ceremonies or the festival grounds. I could take you wherever it is you wish to visit. And hopefully answer any questions you may have in the time.
Oh, it looks like we're stuck together as a unit then.
Just like old times.
It's fine. I don't trust myself by myself.
Neither do I.
Any time that any of you require my presence, if you simply ask Miss Nadja here, I will arrive within minutes.
You mentioned that you're here to help prevent offense. Is that offense coming from us or being committed to us?
A wise question. Hopefully I would be able to stave off either.
And what would you say is the most common or severe offense a person not familiar with Promise might accidentally commit? Or intentionally, I suppose.
We have had some issues in the past with those of strong faith. Those who could not help but take opportunities to proselytize, to try to spread their religion to our people. As I am sure has been explained to you when you received your badges, when your sponsor invited you here, whoever that may have been, religion and discussion of sorts outside of an academic standpoint is forbidden within the city walls. I would advise all of you to err on the side of caution and simply avoid it entirely.
We were given to understand that.
It's hardly the only place that does such a thing.
I know the closest nation that we have on the mainland of Avestan, Rahadum, has it banned outright entirely, and their godless legions enforce it with a much stricter hand than we.
They have a god. It's just not any of the other ones.
A curious viewpoint, perhaps. Do you have this perhaps confused with Rasmuran, near my home country of Ustalav, where they worship the living god King Rasmir and follow in his footsteps in all things?
Perhaps no. It's simply more of something that I've noticed, actually, as you tend to have larger controls placed upon the population, what you can and cannot do, you can and cannot believes. What happens is the ruler and the king tends to take the place of the state instead of simply banning it and leaving the power vacuum. It just tends to be how it works out.
An interesting viewpoint. I have, of course, not been to Rahadum myself. I have studied it some, even before I arrived in Promise, back when I was studying in my home of Ustalav. But I know little of what I could say from a personal perspective.
So you're here by invitation, then. You must be quite skilled at your area of expertise.
I was very fortunate. I have been in Promise for less than a decade now, but the city has been nothing but kind to me.
What do you do?
Now I do this. My studies of culture and knowledge of the peoples of the world of not just Avestan, but also of Garund and Arcadia as well. My knowledge of Tianjani ways is passable, but I certainly would not seek to escort a group of them or feel confident in my knowledge of their history or their peoples. The Council of Enlightenment saw fit to grant me this station, one that I very much enjoy. And make no mistake, I do enjoy these discussions and answering these questions.
This is fascinating, actually. What does the council do here? Because we've understood that Minkari has a fairly direct hand in many things that are run here.
Of course. But Minkari cannot manage a city of thousands by himself. He cannot have a hand in every life and every career and every interest. He cannot even fully manage all of the necessary facets of trade and logistics to keep a city of this size functional. He cannot oversee construction projects. He cannot oversee every festival. The day-to-day and the basic civics of the city largely fall to the Council of Enlightenment and their various stations, aligned loosely with the 12 Guises of Erodin.
There are 12 of them, then.
Yes, indeed. For example, I answer to our guard captain, who is the guise of soldier from Erodin.
That should make sense, then. Fascinating. So, as you're almost like cultural liaisons, but the counselor you report to is sort of more of like your primary occupation, you might say.
Perhaps. Any of the citizens of Promise, to my understanding, only have a personal occupation, as you put it, insofar as they desire to. No man or woman is forced work that they do not wish to perform. If I decided one day, perhaps after a particularly nasty group of visitors that I no longer wish to disguise, Minkari would find me another. Or I would work directly with Guard Captain Aramillo to find something more fitting to my talents and my desires.
When you say Minkari would find me another, you're not specifically saying you could take your grievance directly to him for personal intervention. That simply seems to be more of a turn of phrase I'm noticing gets repeated an awful lot here.
Correct.
I
would not simply walk into his chambers and bend his ear myself.
Do dragons have ears?
Oh, sure.
We've seen a few of them.
They, as your friend here says, a turn of phrase. Perhaps bend his horn would be more accurate.
I'm gonna like look him in the eye and in Kitsune I say, "Io tinki desu ne?"
Which is what?
Nice weather today.
In
Kitsune.
Kitsune?
Kitsune.
I am sorry. For all of my studies, if this is a question, it is one language I cannot answer.
Oh, that's fine.
I believe myself to be fluent in Taldain, in Wangi, in Garundi, in Halit, in Elvish, in Dwarven, in Gnomish, in most dialects of Orcish. I have passable Tian. My Arcadian and Garund, at least standard, are more than serviceable.
I need to work on my regional dialects too. That's something I need to do next. Here, I just pull out another piece of paper. It's
a paper by the end of this session.
Yeah, it's a quick guide to, that was Kitsune. This is a quick, like, what to say, how to respond guide. It's like basic phrases like hello, how's the weather, stuff like that.
I do not believe I've had the pleasure of meeting a kitsune person.
You would never know.
Most of the visitors that we have had here, well, truth be told, of most of the groups I have escorted, you are certainly one of the most diverse.
Oh, thank you.
Can't tell if that's a compliment there, bud.
I meant it more as a simple observation.
It's true enough. We're an odd bunch.
Not how I would put it, and there is certainly no fault in it. But you are the first Yusoki I have met, and if Miss Nadia's ledgers are correct, the first Dustwalker as well. I had some interactions with your elven kind, and he kind of looks at Roshin.
Just quirk an eyebrow. And?
Well, traditionally heterochromia in pure-blooded humans is quite rare, so would it be remiss of me to assume that you are perhaps a changeling of some descent?
That'd be close enough, I suppose.
Yeah, her mom sucks.
A fate shared by most of your people, I imagine.
It's not so much a people, I suppose.
True.
Please don't get her started.
There is far from a standard culture among changelings, as each's experience seems to be deeply personal and very unique.
Better.
There's no offense needed, I suppose. Have
we been walking this whole time?
No, you're standing in the...
I've never considered myself a changeling per se. More of just me with some added extra baggage.
None of us choose our heritage, I suppose.
Regardless, I suppose I can see our friend Kalidar over there kind of dancing from foot to foot. Perhaps we'd best be off.
I have no means to rush you, but in similar fashion, do not let me cause you to tarry. If there is somewhere you wish to be, I will gladly take you.
Shopping. Or parade. I guess we should go see the parade. We can
I just
only
want to
see
be
it
outside,
today.
bud. I'm just hooped up in this place. Feels weird.
I would recommend one of the greatest sights one can see, and promise is due to start in about an hour on the northern promenade.
Yes, I suppose everyone's been guiding us in that direction. We must have given to it.
Well then, come along with me. Allow me to guide you. I will find you a great place where you can watch the festivities and the passage of the parade. It will be perhaps a little more reserved than some years past, as unfortunately our leader Menkari himself is unable to be present today.
Where is Menkari that he's missing such a festivity?
I do not know. His needs and desires are far beyond my understanding and far further beyond my station task. I am sure if he is missing the ceremonies of graduation days, it is something of great import to himself or the city indeed. And now he would lead you out with the same warning to the stairs. Careful, this gets everyone. Same warning at the top of the stairs. Super careful, this gets everyone. And then take you back up and around in a very short span of time. Backtracking pretty much everything you've done since you got to the city, as Gregorovic leads you around to the first promenade you arrived upon.
We didn't eat, right?
I don't think we did.
We're gonna get food at the parade.
Because Kaladar's stomach is just empty, so he doesn't have anything left. Because he definitely retches a couple of
okay.
times going up the stairs.
As you pass through the little bit of streets out in front of the Beggars Quarter and up on the stairs and around towards this northeastern promenade or northwestern promenade, you notice a little more about the city. Looking throughout the city, you see nearly nobody. Nearly nobody.
We saw thousands of people on the fairgrounds,
Yes,
right? Okay.
But here in the Beggars Quarter, there's like a couple of people moving about down roads. Even up on the promenade here, there's almost nothing. The stanchions that section off the route for the parade look like they come almost the same direction as they come all the way down to the Beggars Quarter where you are and continue past it. In fact, looping all the way around the Golden Citadel the long way rather than the short little angle that you're taking to get back to Northwest Promenade. Closer to and there are some people starting to fill in now scattered around that, but down the Beggars Quarter and further out in just the city proper, almost nobody.
So you're saying that there's a parade route and no one is
When you get up
anywhere near it?
When you get up on the, I'm saying in the city below the causeways.
Yeah.
The parade route is all up on the promenade.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry if that was unclear. It's not in the streets below. It's in the streets above.
So the stanchions separating out the parade route are on the promenade.
Yes.
Are on the causeway.
On the, I mean the causeway and promenade I'm using kind of
The
interchangeably,
sky
but
bridges.
which is maybe the problem. We should let's go with the causeway. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the causeway is the whole parade route is up there. The parade is going across these
But
magical
what
walkways.
you're saying is that there
Down
are not,
below
there are
that in
not
the
a lot
city,
of audience people. Okay,
there's almost nobody.
right.
Everyone's up on the
they're up here?
causeways.
But even up there, like while there are hundreds of people kind of lining down the parade route, looking out of the walls for a city this size miles across, this is definitely not enough people on the parade route to account for the streets below being pretty empty. The population density in Promise seems to be like similar to what would be considered an abandoned district in other cities. They have an incredible amount of space for a comparably extremely small population. Don't get me wrong, it's still numbers clearly in the thousands upon thousands, but the city's huge.
Yeah.
This place is almost the size of Absalom.
And it's not because every single person is living in a single building that has 7 wings. Or, I mean, like how the size of the houses are larger or the same size as what we're staying in the Beggar's Quarter. Can we see that?
Is it a house? Is it a shed to the mansion?
You don't see any like apartment style lodging. There doesn't appear to be anything that is living dense. Everyone, and you would be going over what looks like it might be a residential quarter. That looks like the first set of buildings you would have passed on the way in looks to be residential, and it does look again like these, admittedly side by side, but like manor homes.
Okay.
Everyone seems to have an incredible amount of space, and even with how big the city is, there's no like clotted districts. There's no dense apartment rises. There's barely any shared living spaces. That seems like unless they wanted there to be, at least not immediately visible to the group of you.
Would you mind if I cast something to get a better look around?
Be my guest.
Encanto Arachne. I'm gonna cast Prying Eye.
Okay. You send your little eyeballs zooming
I'm
around.
gonna send my little eyeball zooming around. It can go through walls and stuff. I just want to get an idea of what is inside some of these buildings. Like, what is
blow into someone's bathroom.
like what is the makeup of like the density? Like she won't like as we're walking. I'm gonna send the thing going just to try to get
Is
perspective.
it a visible presence?
No.
Okay.
No one can see the eyeball.
Not just a big floating eyeball.
Visible
Like,
zooming eyeball. As you fly around,
It's sustained, so I have to concentrate on it a little bit, but it's not something that anyone can see.
kind of following the route that you were walking, even with this eyeball zooming, with you guys walking up on the causeway, you have to kind of zoot this eyeball pretty close to you to keep up with how fast you guys are walking down this because of the enchantment. And zooming through the districts next to the Beggar's Quarter below you, and the district beyond that looks like the wider sprawling campuses, and the district beyond that, the closest to the gate, it all looks like housing. It is all housing. And there are sections of it where it gets smaller and denser, but it's not like your traditional poorer part of a city. It looks like it's by choice. It's a different style. There is a huge mixture of different styles of homes where the ones are more traditional, almost like Talden Northern Manors, like we've seen Cheliax or Andoran or whatever. And closer down towards the Beggar's Quarter, a little more to the south, you have smaller cottages. You have things that would be more at home in rural Galt, or things that you would perhaps find south of the inner seas. It even then gives way into structures that almost look temporary, things that look more akin to large tents or canvas structures than ones of brick and stone, much more brightly colorful, but still homes all the same. And these sort of sub-districts sort of blend and bleed into each other, loosely grouped as it works around, but they all seem to be various available types of housing, and they all seem to be fairly low scale. Some of them do cluster in smaller little communities, especially these places where it's much more intimate little cottages and things, but again, that seems to be not due to a lack of space. Clearly there's massive empty districts within the walls, but because that's what they want it to be. That's the life they want to live in these little closer knit communities. Some of these sometimes join together into things more akin to a traditional neighborhood, but because they want them to, not because that was what they had the money for or the space for.
I sure does beat a hole in the ground, so.
But by this time, Grigorovic leads you back around to where the parade is due to start. And as you travel, it is the crowds along the edges are getting thicker. Still, though, they leave a very easy walkway of several feet behind them. The crowds, of course, up near the stanchions and at the farthest extremes of the causeway. Even near the front of this, nobody is that asshole who just fills up the walkway space there to be closer towards the front of the parade ground, even as things start to fill in near all the way down the causeway to the Golden Citadel now. So the guard, Grigorovic, easily leads you around, and then as he gets towards the front, starts just gently getting people's attention and nodding, and the waters part for the promised guard as he motions the group of you to follow him all the way up towards the front of the stanchions. We want to ensure that we have best display possible for our fine visitors.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. If there is anything you desire, would you like drinks or small snacks or something? I could flag down another guard to fetch something from the Fisher district for you.
Oh, we're starving.
How are you feeling, Kaladar?
Oh, a bit queasy there, bud. Been walking on these walls.
Maybe a cup of warm broth for him.
Of course. And he kind of looks down the stanchions and raises a hand to a guard who, there's a couple that are just kind of patrolling up and down. They're pretty interspersed. Pretty widely interspersed, rather. There's a lot of space. They don't have a great number of guards up here. Again, with this many people, you would need dozens of guards on crowd control to run something like this anywhere you've ever been. There's like maybe 8 on the entire causeway between the gate and the Golden Citadel, figuring it'll be fine. And it seems to be fine. But the nearest one will come over towards Grigorovic, and he'll lean into them, mutter something. The other guard will nod, look across the party, nod to you guys, and then head off down towards the Golden Citadel.
What do the citizenry do if they find themselves getting thirsty while they're up here?
Many of them will either travel themselves. Of course, most of those who work within the Fisher district are more than happy to run these deliveries. Though they cannot bend the ear of a nearby guard, they can, if not themselves, send a friend or hurry quickly. These causeways allow very quick movement.
Indeed they do.
Even with only
they do.
10 or so minutes. For an event like this, I imagine that most of them are well prepared. This has not been simply sprung upon them. All of Province knows this is happening.
That's simply fascinating to know. I can't help to beat. I understand that this is part of hospitality, but I can't feel like I'm imposing a bit.
No, do not, please. Menkara wishes only the best for those who visit this fine city.
Of course he does.
Do you ever have any Ekujai come here?
Ekujai, I don't believe I have met one myself. That said, there is nobody save perhaps the head counselor of immigration who is aware of all that have come into the city, visitors or immigrants, both. But not personally, no.
Dropping back, you had just said you'd spoken Mwangi, so I was wondering if it was something you had contact with regularly.
And he replies in Mwangi, no, it's simply a part of my studies and the culture I've taken a great amount of interest in.
Oh, your accent is wonderful.
Thank you. The available amenities here to study and to practice are immense, bordering on unbelievable. I don't know any Ekujai, but I do have quite a few associates of mine that are Mwangi, either of original descent that have kept close to their heritage. One, in fact, that has immigrated here just a year and a half ago, I believe.
They have a rather known magical academy there, don't they?
They do. It is quite impressive. I know it was... This is my failing, not his. What is the... Old Mage Jatembe, question mark?
Yeah.
I know it's styled after the teachings of Old Mage Jatembe, supposedly one of the original progenitors of modern magic as we now know it. Magic has been far from my areas of study, though. I know the basics, but I'm unable to produce any of it myself.
That's because they're not familiar with the Payokian theory.
Oh, not to this again.
Don't believe I'm familiar with the Payokian theory, but again, magic is not my area of expertise, and I apologize I may not be able to provide you very useful discourse.
It's okay. It's nothing of any import. It's I haven't heard that tongue in a while. It's nice to have heard it.
Of course. And he turns back to the rest of you. Well, find ways, make yourselves comfortable. If you wish to sit, please do so. In fact, I could have chairs brought for you, or stools if you desire.
Seems like a lot of work there, bud. I think we'll be okay.
Not necessary.
It is nothing. And as you
It's
can,
not nothing. You keep saying that, but it's not nothing. You gotta relax with that.
it may not be nothing, but it is my job, one that I have chosen and one that I enjoy doing.
I would be embarrassed if I were sitting at a chair brought for me with the good citizenry standing as they are.
You would see some people definitely have brought chairs. They're not all standing, especially on the front. Some of just see it on the causeway itself. Some have brought small, little simple stools and chairs to sit upon. A couple have what appear to be very interesting, what would be surprisingly close to like a modern folding camping chair that they have unfolded, drawn about with a silk or leather where the seats and the armrests would be. Plenty of them would be sitting, but most of them would be standing.
Beer koozies.
Quick question. If I'm shifting from foot to foot because my stomach hurts, am I shifting faster than I should be? Because
Please no.
my
10 times.
vibrating like a...
You would not be, no.
Okay, just making sure, sometimes magic works weird.
Valentina's just gonna sit like where we are, so that I'm not blocking people behind us, which I assume there are, and there are other people like sitting around, and so I'm just gonna drop into.
Well, you're
onto
only
the ground.
5'4", so I'm not blocking anybody.
You would hear a voice behind you, and Resume, you would feel a little tug at your robe. And you would turn around and see a little boy who looks like he's maybe 4, with very just loose, haphazard straw hair, kind of obscuring a decent amount of his face. Like the bangs down over a bit of his eyes, almost bulkhead around his entire head.
I'll kneel down so I'm at his height.
And he kind of reaches out. Are your ears real? Can I touch them?
Of course.
And you would see pushing through the crowd behind him with an absolute bright red face of embarrassment, what must certainly be the boy's mother. Gerald, please.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Go for it.
He's...
Children
Okay.
should be curious.
And she'll kneel down very gently. The nice elf lady, I'm sure, has work to get back to. And
You want to say hi to Severin?
she has a bird. They're like the druids.
Not like the druids there, kid. We is the druids.
She looks up at this. Wow, she does. Look at that. And he reaches up and just like touches the pointy parts of your ears. He's like, ah, it feels like it's real.
It is real.
Her face goes bright red again. She's like, all right, now thank the nice lady for being kind enough to indulge you. And he's like, thank you,
You're
Miss
welcome.
Elf Lady.
It's Resume, and
like,
you're welcome.
I'm so sorry, Resume.
It's fine. I have lots of younger brothers.
Raz is standing over here, a literal rat. Well, this kid seems far more interested in the fact that Resume's ears are weird than you are a rat.
To be fair, you have very normal ears for Isoki, so.
And she quickly kind of hurries this kid away. There's a couple people in the crowd that are just sort of chuckling. You have some eyes on you here. And you notice at this that, of course, a lot of people in the crowd are obviously with friends or family, and they're all talking. With no perception check needed, all of you as 19th level characters, and certainly you perceptive enough to notice that a decent amount of them are talking and like throwing glances your way and your way and your way. Clearly, not super duper subtly, talking about Resume and Kaladar and Rez.
Oh, this is fun. I like this attention. This is good.
Oh god, he's about to give a performance.
I tapped the book, it turned into a horn. I'm gonna play a little ditty called Inspire Courage. It's a nice little jaunty tune that makes people want to dance a little bit with this how good it makes them feel inside. And I do a little dance myself. Yeah, I like this.
And as you start to perform, playing this here very briefly, a lot of the people around you would kind of laugh and smile and sort of nod along. Maybe some perception checks.
All of us?
Whoever wants to. Whoever's just kind of looking at the crowd around you here.
too busy having
You're
fun.
tooting.
I'm having a good time.
Anybody who got over like let's say a 40 would realize that while a lot of them are like nodding along, it's like you would humor a child. While his music, like you're a 19th level bard, it's phenomenal. But even so, it's not like, oh wow, this is incredible. It's like, he who look at the weird rat is kind of the vibe in the crowd. But it is decently well concealed, but that's definitely the energy that you're getting. And this same kind of attention, again, to Kaladar and Resme as well. But it's not long after that where you hear another horn from the end of the causeway. The stairs would be somewhat near you, the causeway itself terminating about 200 feet from the gate with just an overlook that looks down onto the outskirts of the city. And at that, you would see rising up at the far end of the causeway an enormous golden dragon. It's not moving. It's just kind of ascending. And as it floats up, lifted on this massive, ornate cushioned platform, this huge parade float settles down onto the end of the causeway and just kind of starts floating down. As it passes the stairs, which are now cordoned off as well, a group comes up both sets of stairs on either side. What look to be a bunch of brightly clothed troubadours who immediately launch into a series of extravagant acrobatics, going around past each other in front of this massive float at the head of this huge parade. At this point, plenty of cheers and cries of excitement come out from the crowd, most of their attention pulled away from you as the beginning of this whole thing proceeds. It's an interesting procession. There are massive, intricate floats that come through, not just this dragon, but another one behind it, depicting, again, the figure that you'd seen in the inn of a massive man with a pick over one shoulder and a lumberjack axe in the other. Behind that would be a gap of about 50 feet, where there are just a couple of people walking along with it, waving to the crowd. They have huge satchels on their hips and appear to be handing out and tossing little bits of candy and sweets out through the crowd as they come by. But there's clearly something central here missing. Behind that, and each of these is again floating up onto the end of the promenade as this begins, a series of 12 men that look to be about 12 feet tall each, with the same identical faces but differing garb. One dressed as a soldier, one as an artist with a beret, a palette in hand, one an artisan with a hammer and saw, a fisherman, a lowly beggar, marching in a circle around a floating obelisk, an almost straight pillar, four-sided, that goes up and comes to a point like the Washington Monument in its center. Each of them marching exactly in lockstep, almost mechanically, and it's not until they get closer you realize it is an entire platoon of either golems or clockworks of some kind, of machines marching their way down this, and behind that is a floating, towering pedestal, a spiraling base only a couple of feet wide that extends up to maybe a dozen feet off the ground, where there is a railed platform atop which you see Ameliza Treagle. And she is turning through the crowd, waving, occasionally bending down and throwing out again little handfuls of sweets and candy out to wherever she sees groups of little children in the side thing, smiling and waving down to everyone, just part of this procession. Behind her, on smaller pedestals, much like the circle of Erodin's guys is marching past before, are more of these counselors looped around what must certainly be the 12 members of the Council of Enlightenment. And as Ameliza looks around, she does eventually notice the group of you in the crowd, and she looks down. She's just sort of not looking at anyone particular until she sees the group of you and locks eyes for a moment. And then she raises a hand up You see her mouth something and do a simple gesture with her hand. And who will be the closest to the front here?
I mean,
Raz,
I would just
I'm
be
sitting on the
underneath
ground
someone.
at the stanchions.
Probably Valentina. Valentina, you would hear Emma's voice in your head. You've seen this then. This is promise. These are my people. I would do anything to keep them safe. And she keeps her eyes on you this entire time this is happening. Before their hand's still up from the spell cast, she has another couple of motions and her mouth keeps moving and she throws her hand up and like a swirling blue ribbon of energy spirals up into the air and then splits and diverges and bursts into a variety of prismatic blasts like fireworks above the crowd as she turns back the other side and continues. The rest of the other 11 counselors on their pedestals around her are doing much of the same, just looking down at the crowd, smiling, and you see again, much like you'd seen below, representation from what looks like all corners of the globe, as long as your representation is only humans.
Are the other counselors taking any note of us?
No. No one else seems to notice you at all. The parade passes over the course of about 10 minutes or so. And after the last bit of this, a small blocked marching band making their way down, their music somehow carrying down the causeway with incredible efficiency, incredible acoustics for a big open floating road. Behind them, a pair of guards start to push each of the stanchions down a side, unclipping the roping at least, and kind of bailing that up around one arm as the group of citizens around the sides watching this kind of collapses in, following along in an ever-growing mass along the back of the parade. At this point, Grigorovic would have been silent the whole time this is passing, just letting you enjoy the scene. He would turn to you. It is probably worth following. This will continue all the way down to Eldanos Park, down at the south, where the festivities will kick off in earnest, the main bulk of the second day celebration. You need not stay for all of it, but if you have stayed thus far, it's worth seeing. There are a group of Varisian performers that have been invited to work as well. I hear they are among the best.
Is Mankari usually a part of the parade?
You will have noticed the gap. He is typically ahead of the 12 guises and ahead of the counselors. He marches down amongst the floats and for many is usually the highlight. It is unfortunate he was unable to make it this year.
Miss Valentina, did you get a piece of this candy? Got a whole bunch of it.
How many students usually graduate per year?
Sometimes 24, maybe 3. This year's graduating class is about average. I believe there are 29 of them.
I guess we should go.
Thank you.
It is up to you, of course. Do not allow me to give you pressure.
Wait, are we walking?
That's what he's asking.
Oh,
And if we're going to follow the parade or not.
Yeah. I mean, I really would like to see the rest of it.
It's not by me. Cultural exchange is always good. This candy's also really good. Here, Miss Frederick.
Oh, thanks. Is it chocolate? I
don't
love
know.
chocolate.
It is an interesting invention, that one. One that one of the creators down in the Fisher district is quite proud of. He has taken sugars and sort of rolled them through a process into a thick, almost viscous, rubbery thing. He calls it a taffy.
Oh,
I try it.
It is stretchy, but still melts in your mouth. Very sweet.
like Raz.
No, thank you. I've never had a huge sweet tooth myself. And trust me, I've tried many flavors of it now.
More for me.
But as you walk with this great ball,
Kaladar has some of the taffy, but now he's really regretting the idea because now his teeth are stuck together and he's retching because now we're walking again. It's bad scene all
He gets
around.
motion
There's nothing,
sickness.
but the guard never came back with food for us. So
he did.
Just sort of
The guard came back before the parade started with food for you. Sorry, they would have definitely come back, but they would have had your
Poor
broth and
man.
some simple bread. So he did bring back some very plain.
Oh, great. So now my teeth are stuck together and I have things to throw
No, it's
up.
okay. I'll give you some compazine. You'll be fine.
interdimensional body swapping agent of a god has motion sickness.
As you get close to the Golden Citadel, you can see the parade is wrapped almost all the way around this, and you can see that on the southwestern causeway, the floats at the front have reached the end and seem to have started stopping, and the parade is kind of condensing at that end, looking like it will fill up near the whole, if not the whole, of the southwestern causeway of the city as it comes to rest. You can see where you'd walked before around the corner of the Citadel, the parade 4 minutes in front of you as you kind of fall around behind it. At that point, the crowd does kind of just like surge and ooze around in a mass to where this is going. And you can see they all seem to be heading to the Beggar's Corner. Gregorovic would lead you around with him eventually past the staircase that you had gone down before to the next staircase from the causeway down to the streets below, leading out into a mostly open district of promise. What appeared to be from the diorama, the only open grassy park district of the city in the southern half. And he would gesture out to that with it done up much like the area at the entryway, but much more centralized with a focus on a large, grandiose stage that's about 10 feet up, high enough to be visible from anywhere in the park above anyone. The park itself, like probably a half mile long and maybe a quarter across, decently sized, but not massive, where you can already see a pair of halflings setting up a bunch of like colorful ribbons and decorations around the edges of the stage.
Halflings,
Wait,
huh?
do halflings count as human?
Are you asking me or are you asking Gregorovic?
I'm asking you, like as a non-player person who does not like is not
Halflings are
like
definitely a
Pathfinder.
very different race.
That's what I
humans,
assumed,
yeah.
but we had also established that
They
there
have-
were not non-humans
have
here,
big
so
feet.
they are out of place. Okay.
So this is the first we've seen of another
This
race,
would be the first non-humans that you have really seen,
and they're doing work.
and they are setting up a stage.
Of
Yes.
course they are.
The performers, probably.
And yeah, almost. I'm gonna keep Gregoric much of that. The flying ribbons from Varesia. They come incredibly well recommended. They are a troop of about a dozen halflings. Their performances are boggling the mind. They do things without magic I would not think possible with it sometimes. Well, I would have thought before I moved here, perhaps. But they've seen what is possible within the walls of promise, and it's still almost unbelievable to me.
I haven't seen very many acrobat performances before. I'm excited.
It should be truly one interesting. Let us find a good place to sit. Would you like anything else for refreshment or drinks?
Are we on the? We're not.
You have left the promenade. You are on the ground in a grassy park.
Got it. Just
I
making sure.
cast Soothe on him.
But
Picnic.
as you all find a good place for a little picnic here,
Just glad you didn't cast synesthesia. That would not have gone well for me.
the opposite is
See
soon.
my nausea. You hear my nausea.
You ever throw up out of your ears?
Sorry. Carry on.
You're down there with a fairly dense crowd. What seems like all of Promise. It's like a 4th of July thing here. Park absolutely packed with hundreds of people in this, like, better part of a square mile area. And maybe 15 minutes later, the halflings take the stage, introduce themselves to cheers and applause, but everyone is to see the check upstairs. It's very much the same impression here. This performance that they start to launch into here is spectacular. With them launching each other far up in the air, varieties of flips and incredible gymnastic performances, living up to their name with several of them that are being launched around the edges with these paired, incredibly colorful ribbons with handles on one end, managing to create impressively intricate designs as they fly. But while it's entertaining the people of Promise, he who halflings seems to kind of be the general sentiment.
Not impressing them.
They're impressed, but they're more entertained,
It's
almost
basically
laughing
like a midget
at
movie
them.
from like
it is
Hollywood.
kind of,
They're
yeah.
like at a zoo.
It's like a zoo is a good
yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And it's
Awkward.
a little awkward, to be sure. But about halfway through their performance, a guard comes up to Grigorovic and taps him on the shoulder and leans down. And Grigorovic turns up and looks over towards you guys. Sorry to interrupt your enjoyment of the performances here, but this is Lieutenant Lanaya Driscoll. And she would nod. Greetings. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves in Promise this afternoon, enjoying the graduation day festivities.
Very much.
Glad to hear it, Miss Resme. I would like to request that you join me in the guardhouse near the northwestern entrance. I apologize again for interrupting your enjoyment here, but would you follow me, please?
Shall we gather our belongings if we're to be escorted out?
Oh, no. This is... you'll be able to return to your domiciles in the Beggar's Quarter before long. This is no arrest or anything.
Is it? Like, she's just gauging her.
Maybe a perception check.
Sure.
Is the show still happening?
It's still happening.
The acrobatics
yes.
is happening right now.
Still happening.
Are all of the halflings on stage currently, or any of them like off?
They
the
kind of
side
trade
that I
off
can
in
see?
groups of like 3 to 5 most of the time.
Okay.
36.
36. You don't have a face to read, really. You've just got a voice through this full-plated helmet. But it's cordial and polite, and he really seems... it doesn't... You don't get immediate... This is definitely a shakedown vibes, but...
Okay.
I mean,
With a 47 perception, is this fairly unusual for the people who are around us?
You would definitely be getting about as much attention as the halfling show right now.
Okay, yeah. I think we should go there, buds. If nothing else, drawing a lot of attention away from these fine performers.
We've been drawing a lot of
Not.
attention since we've been here.
So I suspect we will continue to draw that fine attention.
These halflings have traveled far to give their performance here within the City of Promise, and it would be remiss of me to detract from that any further than I must.
Of course, Lieutenant.
If we're about to leave, do you mind if I just take 1 second to do something?
Be my guest.
Okay. I'm gonna like go over to the stage and see if I can get the attention of like one of the halflings.
There would be... Those guards that were up on the causeway would now be around the stage.
Right.
And one of them would... They would have these stanchions kind of around with a little bit of a perimeter.
Yeah.
One of them would definitely kind of step up and put a hand up.
yeah.
As the halflings all have their attention focused on the stage. It's all like one consistent act with all of them. So they're watching, waiting for their moments, their little things they got to do on the side.
Oh, so there's like none at all that would notice.
There's none that are
me
just
trying
like
to,
standing there not
scratch.
doing anything at the moment.
Okay. All right.
But heading back over, assuming you head back over, or are you pressing this?
What's that?
Is it you heading back, or are you pressing
I
this?
want to see if I can still catch one of their eyes. Like that. Like there's got to be an act long enough that someone looks over and I'm like,
Okay, roll me. Yeah, you know what? Just roll me a flat d20. Let's just see. Let's call this the RNG coin
is
flip.
this gonna be like success on a 10?
Success out of 10.
I got a 12.
Okay. As you're there, one of them does notice you and kind of gives a smile and a little overly exaggerated nod and bow.
I'm like gonna wave him over just like real quick. Am I close enough?
As you do that, the guard kind of steps over again, but the halfling looks at the stage, looks at you, and quickly hops over and just pats the guard on the shin, I guess.
Yeah.
No, it's more than okay. Perfectly right.
It's been so long since I had someone I could practice acrobatics with. Are you staying in the city?
Oh, for another couple of days we are.
That's fantastic. We're in the Beggar's Quarters. You should come find me. My name's Valentina. I have to go, but what was your name?
Stout hair. You can find me.
Stout hair.
We're in the
Awesome.
Beggar's Quarter as well, so we're all in the same building. How these lodgings work?
Lovely stout hair. Okay, I think I need it. I'm just gonna,
Which Valentina was it?
Sprint back to the thing.
She wants to throw a halfling. She just wants to throw a halfling.
Sprint back over.
doesn't?
There's Lanaya's here with the party. If it's not too much trouble, now that she's done with the business with the parade here, one of our counselors, guard captain in Umilo, was actually hoping to meet with you briefly.
Sure.
Fascinating.
Again, I want to stress this is nothing bad. You've done nothing wrong. You're not under arrest.
Oh, I'm just very curious. I haven't gotten to meet with very many of the counselors yet.
As is she. But please, if you will, gather up whatever things you've brought. And thank you, Grigorovic. We'll take it from here.
I'm like beaming. I've just made a new friend who can do acrobatics. Like,
Thank Thank
last
you.
time this happened, Roisin got a helmet put on her and got thrown into a secret jail. So
That is fair. That is very fair.
Lanaya motions you to follow her out of the crowd. And you see at the edge of the crowd another 3 guards all standing close together, clearly watching the group of you pretty intently.
I think it's because I'm Yusoki.
I think it's here we'll end today's session.
We got to put the beat down on some guards. It is what it is.
You're in the middle of a crowd of hundreds of people enjoying a bunch of halflings doing backflips, but if you got to put the beat down on some
I'm not allowed
guards,
to fight.
Resme,
far the
collateral damage, Galadriman.
So far, the worst they've done is like a talk to the hand. So
That's what I'm saying. I'm not worried about it right
The
now.
last time we fought Town Guard, I about died.
Well,
I got chased through a secret
squishy,
jail.
though.
the most fun thing is that if they're all watching us, they're gonna see a cocoon appear where Kalidar used to be as spider webs spin out from him. He's like, oh, I guess Esphus has got his soul all done. And that's as much as he can say. And then he's sucked into a giant cocoon.
and as this cocoon shoots up, Lanaya kind of takes a step back and puts a hand up.
Oh,
You see one of the
that's
guards
normal.
near the edge put a hand on the hilt of his sword.
That's normal.
That's
Oh, it's not normal.
certainly startling, is all.
No, it's not threatening. I promise you. He's nesting.
And as he gets whisked up in his cocoon here,
Don't touch the eggs.
we'll end today's adventures. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Our first look at the perfectly normal and happy city of Promise, where everything is great and everyone's living a great, happy life.
And
Promise.
that's because the dragon said so.
I don't know.
The thing I
Mr.
decided-
Have you met
said-
anyone that doesn't seem like they enjoy their life, Hiroshine?
They're not, of course not. No. I mean, the guards are here to whisk you away if you don't.
Excuse me. Promise is great, and everyone's happy, and
My popcorn.
I just-
I will not stand for
Roisin
this
finds it
malignment.
amusing that Mankari puts himself at the head of the 12 guises of Iredon. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. God Emperor Mankari. Oh, Iredon's here too.
So no step 40 vibes here that you're getting.
Oh, this is straight up, I'm the God King, and this is my utopian society,
But-
and you'll like it.
Or else.
But would a utopian God King society not work if the God King was a benevolent gold dragon?
benevolent.
Find out.
Benevolent is a very strong word to
Absolute
use
power
there.
corrupts absolutely.
I don't know. Next week,
Whatever
we
cocoon
return, same time, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/UGT show. Well, we do still have a heist to get under, and it appears that we have made it 1 hour without getting the attention of the captain of the guard, who seems to be literally rushing from the parade
Yeah, no, you know what? That is a
come
record for Resme and
meet with
Roisin.
us. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Feel targeted.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.